Chapter 221, Massacre at the Source. After the shock, excitement followed. The energy here is not weaker than the aura, which means that there is a possibility of replacing the aura. If I can introduce the energy here into my body for my own use, then I can return to the peak. The more Qi Qingmo thought about it, the more excited she became, and the expression on her face gradually became excited. But soon, she became cautious. The energy in this world is not weaker than the aura. This means that the creatures in this world are probably not weaker than the creatures in the aura era. It also means that she is not invincible here. Well, be careful. Qi Qingmo thought silently in her heart. If it was the heyday, it would be fine. But now her strength is greatly reduced. She can only rely on the aura in the pearl shell bracelet to continue the peak burst for 3 days. Once you encounter a difficult enemy and cannot end the battle in a short time, you will be in danger. Who is it? How did you get in? Stand still. Several gatekeepers at the entrance of the source land noticed Qi Qingmo's presence and immediately clenched their weapons and shouted loudly. Qi Qingmo ignored them. At the moment their voices rang out, she rose to the sky with a thought and disappeared in front of them in an instant. She disappeared out of thin air. Quick, report to the city lord. The whole city is on alert. Just now, an unidentified woman broke into the city. She can fly in the air and her biological level is at least rare. While several people shouted these words, Qi Qingmo had already flown thousands of miles away, completely away from city number 36. Finally, he stopped over an endless forest and looked at everything below curiously. Trunks covered with blood vessels. Twisted stems and leaves. Gorgeous flowers and fruits. Strange reptiles. Interesting, the flora and fauna in this world are really strange. Qi Qingmo looked at the forest below and exclaimed in amazement. Suddenly, she raised her eyebrows and stared down at the position below her. The next second. Buzz. 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 Several thorny vines rose from Qi Qingmo's feet and shot towards her. Facing this sudden attack, Qi Qingmo's heart was not shaken at all. With just a slight thought, he smashed all the attacking vines into nothingness. Boom. At the moment the vines were smashed, a huge sound of breaking through the air came from the forest below. The forest moved. Countless towering trees rose up from the ground and gathered together to form a 1,000-meter tree dragon. As soon as the tree dragon was formed, it immediately soared into the sky and hovered high above Qi Qingmo's head. With the momentum of covering the sky and blocking the sun, it completely enveloped her in a shadow and fell into endless darkness. Above the tree dragon's head, a man wearing a 4-leaf clover mask said in an extremely strong voice. Who is coming? How dare you break into the territory of my Shenzi sect alone? Don't you know how to write the word death? While the 4-leaf clover masked man said these words. In the forest below, masked men soared into the sky one after another, all hovering around the tree dragon, facing Qi Qingmo, forming a situation of many against few. Facing more than a dozen powerful men who could fly in the air, Qi Qingmo had no fluctuations in his heart, and soon raised his jade hand expressionlessly, aiming at all the masked men in front of him. The 4-leaf clover masked man in the lead suddenly changed his face at this moment, keenly sensing the unprecedented danger. Run! He reacted very quickly and shouted to remind others. Then, without any hesitation, he immediately burst into blood and fled behind him. Unfortunately, just as he was about to flee, Qi Qingmo behind him had already closed his 5 fingers and suddenly clenched his jade hand. In an instant, the 4-leaf clover masked man exploded into a ball of blood mist. And the 1,000-meter tree dragon he had summoned earlier also collapsed and fell into the lush forest below. Until the moment before his death, he couldn't understand why he, an epic-level strong man, was killed by someone like an ant. The third elder is dead. Seeing the 4-leaf clover masked man suddenly die, the other masked men around were stunned and couldn't believe the fact in front of them. Soon, these masked men showed fear on their faces and fled. However, before they escaped 10 meters, they were crushed into a blood mist by an invisible terrifying force, condensed into bright red blood pills. Qi Qingmo waved his jade hand and put all the blood pills into his sleeves. Then, she thought about it and released a huge amount of mental power, covering the entire forest, accurately locating every masked person inside, and controlling them all from a distance. Don't kill me. I was forced to join the Shenzi cult. I am useful. I can provide many secrets about the Shenzi cult. A masked person was shouting for mercy, not wanting to die. Qi Qingmo ignored these voices and gently clenched her jade hands. The next moment, all the masked people exploded into a ball of blood mist and condensed into pills. Why don't these masked people have special energy bodies in their bodies? Are they not all creatures from the origin? Did they all come in from the biological channel on the earth like me? Well, that should be the case. After thinking about it, Qi Qingmo's figure flashed and disappeared in the sky above the forest in an instant. Then the next moment, he appeared in the sky above a group of beasts thousands of miles away. It was a group of strange beasts whose names could not be called. 3 heads and 6 legs, with flesh wings on their backs, their bodies were tens of meters high, and their appearance was very strange. They were heading towards the nearest human stronghold. They were going to attack the human stronghold. There are earthlings in the sky. Kill her. Tear her into pieces. In the beast group below, a 3-eyed giant in charge of command shouted. The moment the voice fell, several 3-headed and 6-armed beasts immediately waved their flesh wings, soared into the sky from the beast group, and killed Qi King Mo above. Qi King Mo did not dodge or avoid, but just silently raised his jade hand and aimed at the entire beast group below. The next second, the huge beast group exploded, turning into a large blood mist that filled the surroundings and dyed the entire sky red. Qi King Mo, bathing in the blood mist, had a look of joy on his beautiful face. That's the feeling. Bathed in blood, it's like being reborn. Soon, the blood mist in the sky began to shrink rapidly. In just a blink of an eye, it condensed into bright red blood pills. It's a pity that it's not the blood of a pure-blooded human, otherwise I could absorb it all into my body for my use. Qi King Mo said with regret. After saying that, he waved his jade hand and put the blood pills floating below into his sleeves. After putting away the blood pills, Qi King Mo slowly landed a little and turned his eyes to the blue crystals on the ground. These blue crystals on the ground fell from the strange beasts that had just exploded and died. They are suspected to be beast cores or something like that. Qi King Mo picked a few blue crystals of the same size but different shades of color, sucked them into his hand through the air and looked at them carefully. These blue crystals all contain rich special energy bodies. The darker the color, the more it contains. It's a bit like a spirit stone. No. It should be like a spirit crystal with a higher purity. I don't know if it can be absorbed into the body through refining like a spirit crystal. Thinking of this, Qi King Mo immediately released his blood and qi, and used the same method as refining spirit crystals to refine the blue crystals in his hand. Under the high-intensity refining of blood and qi, these blue crystals that looked extremely hard were instantly refined into wisps of blue mist, and then all of them were absorbed into Qi King Mo's body. As soon as the blue mist entered the body, Qi King Mo immediately entered the last step of refining, and wanted to completely integrate the blue mist that was absorbed into every spiritual orifice in the body. After a few seconds, Qi King Mo frowned slightly, and sighed with some disappointment. Alas, it's not that easy. She failed to merge. Those blue mists, whose energy values were not weaker than the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, could not be integrated into her spiritual orifices at all, not even a trace of them could be integrated. There must be a way, but it will take some time to find it. What we need to do now is to collect as many blue crystals as possible for later experiments. With more experiments, we will definitely find a way to integrate them. Qi King Mo murmured a few words. Then, she thought about it and put all the blue crystals on the ground into her sleeves. Then her figure flashed and disappeared again, going to refine more beasts. Twisted Valley. Center. The Deputy City Lord of City No. 1, a gene fusionist with 6 wings on his back, suddenly soared into the sky from a dense forest, turned into a big bird that covered the sky and the sun, and fled madly with an embarrassed look. Behind him, several terrifying tree dragons with a body length of thousands of meters were chasing him at a high speed. He was ambushed. As the No. 1 Deputy City Lord, he originally wanted to lead a team to wipe out a stronghold of the Divine Plant sect in the valley, and by the way, train the 28 alien geniuses. Unexpectedly, there was a traitor from the Divine Plant sect in the team, who stabbed him in the back at the critical moment. The whole team was wiped out, and he was the only one who escaped with difficulty with serious injuries. Then he fell into the embarrassing situation of being chased madly. City Lord Qin, you can't run away. Today, not only you will die, but also the 28 alien geniuses you brought will die. Unless you are willing to surrender to the Divine Plant sect and swallow the goo seeds, then we can spare your life. The people of the Divine Plant sect who were chasing behind shouted loudly to the No. 1 Deputy City Lord who was fleeing in front. As the No. 1 Deputy City Lord, Qin Chuan ignored the noise behind him. From beginning to end, he only focused on the burst of blood and kept fleeing to the periphery of the valley, to take the 28 alien geniuses over there away safely. More than 10 seconds later, Qin Chuan, who turned into a big bird, rushed out of the valley and came to the periphery of the valley. Seeing that the 28 alien geniuses were all there, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and then he waved his wings, swept the 28 celestial beings away, and took them away from here at a very fast speed. These 28 alien geniuses are the backbone of the future of mankind. They must not fall into the hands of the Divine Plant cult. They must all be taken away safely. Even if they sacrifice themselves, they will not hesitate. Buzz. 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 There was only a burst of air-breaking sound. The 1,000-meter tree dragons chasing behind him suddenly accelerated, and in the blink of an eye they rushed to the front of Qin Chuan and surrounded him on all sides. Lord Qin, either die or swallow the goo seeds and join the Divine Plant religion, it's your choice. A masked man with a four-leaf clover said to Qin Chuan indifferently. Faced with this choice question, Qin Chuan did not hesitate at all. He immediately waved his wings and scattered the 28 geniuses inside, and shouted to them. Run! It would be best if you can run away. If you can't run away, immediately self-destruct your blood and chi, and you can't be controlled by the divine plant religion and become the enemy of mankind. After shouting these 3 sentences in a very short time, Qin Chuan sacrificed his blood and essence to make his alienation deeper and gain more powerful strength, and then he rushed to the tree dragons around him to buy time for the 28 alien geniuses to escape. Below, the 28 alien geniuses scattered as soon as they landed, and fled in different directions. But before they ran a few steps, they were tightly entangled by a large number of vines that shot out, and they couldn't move. 28 alien geniuses, none of them were spared, all were entangled. Qin Chuan, who was fighting with several tree dragons above and was beaten to vomiting blood, saw that the alien geniuses below were all caught, and immediately shouted to them. Self-destruct your blood and chi, don't hesitate, don't live. The geniuses self-destructed, that would only be a loss of geniuses for humans. But if the geniuses were controlled by the god plant cult, it would be a disaster for humans. Hearing this, almost all the alien geniuses looked desperate. They were not even 30 years old, had not experienced the joy of life, and did not want to die young. However, in order not to be controlled by the god plant cult, they all had no choice but to obey Qin Chuan's order to self-destruct. However, just when they were about to mobilize their blood and chi to self-destruct, they found that the blood and chi in their bodies were all locked by the thorns on the vines and could not be mobilized. If you can't mobilize your blood and chi, you can't self-destruct, and now you can't die even if you want to. Qin Chuan saw that they could not self-destruct. He immediately became ruthless and burst out with all his strength to break through the entanglement of several tree dragons around him, and rushed towards the 28 geniuses trapped by the vines below. He knew that he could not escape today. Rather than letting these geniuses fall into the hands of the divine planting sect, it is better to kill them by himself and eliminate this hidden danger in advance to prevent the divine planting sect from further expanding. However, just as he made a move, he was caught up by several tree dragons behind him and was entangled again. The geniuses below were also quickly pulled away by the vines and away from the battlefield. During the period of being pulled away, Luo Qingxiu, who had been holding back, saw that the time was ripe, and immediately burst out with mental power, instantly freezing and breaking the vines wrapped around her body, and then fled at a high speed. Unfortunately, before escaping 100 meters, she was entangled again by several vines that broke through the air, and completely lost the opportunity to escape again. Can't escape. Luo Qingxiu's eyes dimmed. She didn't want to self-destruct, nor did she want to be taken away by the pagans of the divine planting sect. She just wanted to escape. Unfortunately, his strength is limited after all. Who is it? Suddenly, the powerful men of the divine plant sect in the sky shouted loudly. Luo Qingxiu looked up and found that a beautiful woman in a Taoist robe appeared above the heads of the powerful men of the divine plant sect. P.S. Putting out bowls, asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Chapter 222 Qi King Mo severely damages the divine planting sect. Immediately capture Shanghai City. Who is she? When they saw Qi King Mo, everyone at the scene had such a doubt in their hearts. Especially Qin Chuan, who was the #1 deputy city lord. At this moment, he was more confused than anyone at the scene. He knew all the human masters in the source by heart and could remember every face of them. However, he felt very unfamiliar with Qi King Mo who suddenly appeared. Let's do it together. Only a strong man from the God Plant sect shouted. The next moment, several strong men from the God Plant sect with epic strength attacked Qi King Mo in the sky from different directions at the same time. They could vaguely feel the power of Qi King Mo. Therefore, when they attacked, they did not dare to be arrogant at all. They started with full firepower. They had to get rid of Qi King Mo with the strongest offensive. In order to avoid unnecessary accidents. Facing several epic strong men from the God Plant sect attacking at the same time, Qi King Mo's expression did not fluctuate at all, and he was still calm. Just raised her jade hand as usual, and gently clenched it at the several attacking God Plant sect strong men. Instantly. Bang! 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 4 God Plant sect strong men with epic biological levels instantly exploded, turned into a ball of blood mist and spread out, and completely fell. Qi King Mo thought, condensed the blood in the air into a bloodbath pill, and then waved her jade hand to put it all into her sleeves. Then, her figure flashed and fled to the center of the twisted valley. She keenly sensed that there were still masked people from the God Plant sect there. Go and kill them all. Cut the grass and root. And the #1 deputy city lord Qin Chuan who stayed behind, and the 28 alien level geniuses, are still a little confused until now, and they didn't react to what just happened for a while. Just feel so confused. And a little lucky to have survived the disaster. Everyone thought they were dead, but suddenly a mysterious woman showed up and raped the 4 epic divine plants in an instant. It was unbelievable. Lord Qin, who was that mysterious female warrior just now? An alien genius came back to his senses and asked. Qin Chuan shook his head, I don't know either. The alien genius was very surprised, Lord Qin didn't know. Do you think that powerful mysterious female warrior just now is the unknown deputy state lord? An alien genius with a neat short hair guessed. There are 3 deputy state lords in Zhuzhu. The one in charge of the administration of the earth is a woman named Xiao Yu. The one in charge of the affairs of the source is a man named Ye Yongsheng. The remaining deputy state lord is very mysterious. We only know that his name is Nangong Kanghai, and there is no other information. We don't know whether he is male or female. We don't know what he looks like. We don't know what job he is in charge of. I only know the name, nothing else. Based on the above, the extraordinary genius sister guessed that Qi Qingmo, who suddenly appeared just now, was the mysterious deputy state lord. When everyone heard her say this, they all said with a look of realization. Don't say it, it's really possible. I think it must be her, otherwise I really can't think of who the strong woman just now could be. What's the name of the unknown deputy state lord? It's Nangong Kanghai. This name sounds quite neutral, it can be male or female. From this point of view, the strong woman just now is most likely this deputy state lord. Everyone said one by one, and they all thought that the extraordinary genius sister guessed it right. Including Qin Chuan, they also thought that the guess was right. Just when everyone thought that Qi Qingmo was the mysterious deputy state lord, Qi Qingmo, who had just left not long ago, suddenly appeared in front of everyone out of thin air. She hovered high in the sky, with a pair of eyes that seemed to be able to see through everything in the world, quietly staring at Luo Kyungsu below. After confirming that Luo Kyungsu was a special existence, Qi Qingmo had a thought and sucked Luo Kyungsu up and in front of him. It is obviously only a high-level creature, but the special energy contained in its body is not weaker than those epic source creatures I killed before. Moreover, it is a pure-blooded human, without a trace of alien blood in its body. Your blood may be useful to me, I will remember you. As he said, Qi Qingmo stretched out his hand and pressed it on Luo Kyungsu's Tianmen, and made a mark inside. Then he said lightly, when I need it, I will come to you. At this time, Qin Chuan below suddenly flew up and asked in an extremely respectful voice. Excuse me, are you the lord of Nangong's? No. Qi Qingmo said expressionlessly without even looking at him. As soon as she finished speaking, she thought about it and sent Luo Kyungsu in front of her back to the ground. Then her figure flashed and disappeared directly from the spot, like a ghost in an instant. Only Qin Chuan was left with a confused face. Not Nangong's lord? Then who is she? What is going on? On the ground. Luo Kyungsu was also confused, but more confused. She just clearly felt that Qi Qingmo had injected something into her Tianmen, but now she couldn't feel that thing at all. Also, what does it mean that blood might be useful to that Taoist robe woman? What exactly does that Taoist robe woman want to do? All these unknowns made her feel a little uneasy. She didn't want to be a special existence. From childhood to adulthood, her specialness never made her dazzling. It would only make her be viewed with tinted glasses by people around her and be ostracized by her peers. She was fed up with this special treatment. City number 36. The city lord, the deputy city lord, and a group of strong men all looked at the distance with solemn expressions. In the sky several miles away from the city, there was a group of birds with arcs flashing on their bodies, flying towards the city at a high speed with a large dark cloud. It was a thunderbird. A strange beast that feeds on lightning. It was huge, ranging from tens of meters long to 10 meters short. It liked to live in groups and was violent by nature. It would kill all living creatures it saw along the way. Wherever he passed, there were lightning and thunder, and the ground was charred. Everyone, follow me. Don't let this group of thunderbirds enter the city. Kill them all, let other beasts know the price of attacking our human city. City Lord number 36 shouted loudly, and then immediately soared into the sky and killed the group of thunderbirds. The deputy city lords, captains of each team, and administrative personnel who came to support from the earth followed him. Among them, Yuan Dongji took the lead, followed closely behind the city lord, controlled the water knife in the sky, and rushed to the group of thunderbirds without hesitation. Her son, her daughter, were all buried in the beasts of the source. She hated these strange beasts in the source. To kill them. To grind their bones and scatter their ashes. To sacrifice to the spirits of her children in heaven. Zizi. Zizi, Zizi, Zizi. Zizi. As he kept getting closer to the group of thunderbirds, Yuan Dongji could clearly hear the sound of electricity coming from inside. At the same time, he could clearly see that the arcs on the surface of each thunderbird beast flying at high speed became more and more and brighter and brighter. Soon, there was a loud bang. A dazzling white light suddenly burst out from the group of thunderbirds, and a terrifying lightning column was instantly generated, shooting towards the group of people flying at high speed. The lightning column shot at a very fast speed, and most people had no time to dodge. They were directly submerged in the lightning light and turned into charred figures falling from the sky. Yuan Dongji luckily dodged it, and followed the city lord and others into the group of thunderbirds, slaughtering the thunderbird beasts with high attack and low defense like crazy. The thunderbird beasts were weak in body, and once they were close to them, they were lambs to be slaughtered, and they were killed in an instant. Just when Yuan Dongji thought that he would soon end this battle and return with a great victory. Suddenly, a long dragon roar came from the dark cloud above the thunderbirds. The next moment, a 1,000-meter-long dragon surrounded by lightning broke through the clouds with the momentum of covering the sky and the sun, and hovered high above everyone. It's the Thunder Dragon Beast. Disperse. Everyone disperse quickly. The Thunder Dragon Beast has a very strong attack, but it needs to accumulate power when attacking, and the attack direction moves slowly. Don't gather together to occupy each other's escape space, resulting in being caught in one net. Adopt a strategy of fighting in circles. As soon as the 1,000-meter-long Thunder Dragon in the sky was seen, the city lord shouted to everyone and commanded skillfully. Upon hearing this, everyone immediately scattered and surrounded the Thunder Dragon in the sky. Then the blood and chi burst out crazily, launching the most lethal attack on the Thunder Dragon from different directions. In an instant, a burst of huge noises broke out in the sky. The full-strength attacks of several epic-level masters and dozens of rare-level masters fell on the terrifying 1,000-meter Thunder Dragon at the same time. At the moment of collision, large sparks were rubbed out. Like fireworks, they illuminated the entire sky. However, the momentum looked huge, but the actual effect was horrible. The Thunder Dragon, which had just suffered a large number of attacks, was almost intact at this time. Only some of the surface scales were broken, and the foundation was not damaged. ZZ. 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 Accompanied by a flash of electric arcs. The next moment, the surface of the Thunder Dragon was shining, and a terrifying electric current burst out. These bursting electric currents spread out in all directions at a high speed like a spider web. With the momentum of destroying the world, it instantly swept all the people around. A few seconds later, there were dozens of charred figures falling at a high speed in the sky, forced to leave the battlefield. In addition to the city lord and several other epic-level masters, all other powerful humans were knocked down by the electric current burst from the Thunder Dragon, and completely lost their combat capability. Yuan Dongji was also included. Her biological level was only rare level 3, and her strength was in the middle and lower reaches of this group of people. Under the attack of the Thunder Dragon just now, she was directly electrocuted and lost consciousness, and was falling to the ground at a very fast speed. Attack its 7 inches. This Thunder Dragon evolved from the Thunder Snake, attacking its 7 inches can cause greater damage. Chu Sheng, Wu Lao, you two are responsible for restraining this Thunder Dragon. Kun, He Shizi, you two follow me to attack its 7 inches. The city lord finished these words at a very fast speed. Immediately, without wasting a second, he immediately took 2 powerful deputy city lords and rushed to the Thunder Dragon's 7 inches at a very fast speed. The remaining deputy city lord, who was slightly weaker, and an old man who was hundreds of years old, rushed to the head of the Thunder Dragon together, creating an opportunity for the 3 people on the other side to attack the Thunder Dragon's 7 inches. Boom! 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 The epic level attack kept hitting the Thunder Dragon's 7 inches. It was just a moment. The scales on the Thunder Dragon's 7 inches began to break and fall off, revealing the bright red and fragile flesh. The pain made the Thunder Dragon roar to the sky. ZZ. 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 Boom. Under the severe pain, the Thunder Dragon burst out a terrifying electric current again. The light suddenly became brighter. It illuminated the entire sky. Facing this terrifying electric current spreading over, the 4 people did not panic at all. Too slow. The attack of this Thunder Dragon is lethal and has a large range, but the attack speed is too slow. As epic-level strongmen, the 4 people have full confidence that they can easily dodge it. But just as the current spread to their eyes, the 4 people were about to dodge. Among them, the deputy city lord named Kun suddenly summoned a large number of blood-red vines, entangled the 3 people who wanted to dodge the current attack. The 3 people looked at the traitor at the same time, their faces full of disbelief, and they never dreamed that this colleague was actually a traitor of the divine plant cult. Kun, you. Boom. Before the city lord finished speaking, he and the other 2 were completely submerged by the spreading current, their bodies quickly charred and carbonized, and their vitality continued to drain. A few seconds later, the 3 people fell down with serious injuries and completely lost the ability to fight back. The deputy city lord named Kun did not dare to waste a second, and immediately flashed to the side of the 3 people to finish the knife. It's over. I'm going to die. City number 36 is going to fall. Seeing the traitor flash to their side to finish the knife, the three people all looked ashen and unwilling. Just when the three people thought they were going to die here today. Suddenly, the traitor in front of the three people exploded into a ball of blood mist with a bang. The three people were stunned, their eyes widened, and they didn't understand what happened. Bang! 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 Soon, the same explosion sounded again. The thunder dragon in the sky. Only dozens of scattered thunderbirds were left. More than a dozen compatriots in the city who inexplicably flew into the sky. All of them suddenly exploded into balls of scarlet blood mist at the same time. Then they quickly dispersed, and quickly condensed into bright red pills, and then all flew in one direction. The three people looked in the direction where the red pills flew. Then they saw a beautiful woman in Taoist robes. On the other side, in a huge forest castle. Master, it's bad. A huge three-eyed giant rushed to a five-leaf clover masked man at high speed and stopped, then said anxiously, a mysterious Taoist woman with great strength suddenly appeared in the source. The high priest, the left protector, the right protector, the second elder, the third elder, the fourth elder, they were all killed by this Taoist woman. The strongholds they were responsible for were also wiped out. What did you say? The five-leaf clover masked man, the leader of the Shenzi sect, suddenly widened his eyes and his face was full of astonishment after listening to the report of the three-eyed giant. The high priest died? The left and right protectors also died? 3 elders died directly? This counts the 8 elders and the 9 elders who died on earth before, and the high-level people in the sect are almost 1/3 dead. What is going on? There is a ghost. There is definitely a ghost in the sect. There is a ghost who is leaking information and persecuting the high-level people in the sect. Can't wait any longer. We must inform the Great Elder now and ask him to launch an attack on Shanghai City immediately. Let's think about it. The leader of the Shenzi sect immediately took out a special communication magic weapon, contacted the Great Elder of the Shenzi sect on the other side of the earth, and said firmly. Kahi, immediately capture Shanghai City. P.S. Put the bowl, ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Chapter 223 The Sacred Tree Descends. The fox-eared girl appears again. Shanghai City. 20,000 meters underground. In the underground palace. A 4-leaf clover masked man with a cane holding a conch engraved with runes. The conch made a sound, Kahi, immediately capture Shanghai City. The voice was full of anxiety. The 4-leaf clover masked man, the great elder of the Shenzi sect, frowned after hearing the words in the conch. Soon, he asked, Master, did something happen in the source? As soon as the voice fell, a voice came from the conch, a powerful and mysterious female warrior suddenly appeared in the source. The high priest, the left and right protectors, the second elder, the third elder, and the fourth elder were all killed. What? The great elder was shocked. Just as he was about to ask in detail, the voice of the leader of the divine plant cult came from the conch. I suspect there is a traitor in the cult, who is tipping off the mysterious female warrior and exposing our base in the source area. You should attack Shanghai City now, lest there be any changes if you delay. I will organize a large number of beasts to attack other human bases, lead away the strong men in the 3 human bases below Shanghai City, and help you capture Shanghai City and establish a base in the source area. The elder calmed down and said, I know, leader. Leader, okay, without further ado, you quickly organize the beasts to attack Shanghai City, and I will organize the beasts to attack other human bases. After saying the last sentence, the two of them ended the call without further ado. The elder put away the conch. Leave the central underground palace. Come to a small underground palace closest to the ground. Then take out a scarlet seed, walk to an altar in the center of the underground palace, and bury the seed in the black soil of the altar. Then, the blood and chi were released, condensing into a drop of rich blood essence, which dripped onto the seed. As soon as the seed came into contact with the blood essence, the surface instantly cracked and took root and sprouted at a speed visible to the naked eye. A large number of roots spread out and penetrated deep into the altar. Fresh buds grew and grew rapidly. It took less than half a minute. The altar, which was originally empty, had a scarlet giant tree tens of meters high. Blood, I need blood. This clone body is too weak. I need to absorb a lot of blood to develop, so that this clone body can evolve into a 1,000-meter giant tree. Take root in this land completely. Control the territory within a radius of 10 miles. A hideous human face appeared on the trunk of the scarlet giant tree, and said in a hoarse voice. The elder looked at the face and said calmly, wait a minute. After he finished speaking, he tapped the ground with his cane, making a dong 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 sound. The moment the sound rang out, the ground in front of him loosened slightly. Then, a blind giant alien rat more than 10 meters long quickly broke out of the ground. Elder, what do you want? The Rat King lay on the ground and asked respectfully. Its aura became stronger. In the past few years, it has obtained a lot of evolutionary resources from the elder. The biological level has evolved to the advanced 4th level. The elder said lightly, I need 1000 giant alien rats above the ordinary 5th level. The Rat King looked at the scarlet giant tree on the altar in front of him and knew what would happen to the 1000 compatriots later. However, it did not hesitate at all, and immediately turned its head to the row of holes on the side and made a sharp and long cry. Gee! The moment the sound rang out, there was a sudden earth-shaking noise from the row of caves on the side. A moment later, a large number of giant rats poured out of the caves. They instantly filled the entire underground palace. Buzz! 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 There was a sharp sound of breaking through the air. In an instant, a large number of thorny vines shot out from the scarlet giant tree, aiming directly at every giant rat except the Rat King. Puff! 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 Accompanied by the dull sound of flesh and blood being inserted by hard objects. The giant rats in the underground palace were all pierced into their bodies by a vine, and the vines greedily sucked their flesh and blood. In just a blink of an eye, these giant rats were all sucked into rats by the vines. They turned into ratskins as thin as cicada wings. They were piled up on the ground in a mess. On the contrary, the scarlet giant tree that sucked their flesh and blood was growing rapidly. Tens of meters. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Hundreds of meters. Hundreds of meters. Thousands of meters. In less than half a minute, the height of the scarlet giant tree exceeded 1,000 meters, breaking out of the ground in the center of Shanghai City, turning into a huge parasol, covering the city center in a scarlet shadow. In the dormitory, Lin Zichen sat cross-legged on the bed, concentrating on attacking the second A-cup ointment. The A-cup ointment he attacked was the brain A-cup ointment. The first A-cup ointment he opened was the heart A-cup ointment, which strengthened the ability of qi and blood. For the sake of balance, the second A-cup ointment he opened had to be a different type of A-cup ointment. And the brain A-cup ointment that can strengthen the ability of the spirit is a good choice. Who? After an unknown amount of time, Lin Zichen slowly opened his eyes, exhaled a deep breath, and a relieved smile appeared on his face. After nearly half a month of hard work, he finally succeeded in opening a brain A-cup ointment. The mental explosive power has been improved by 10%. Next, it is time to open the body orifice. The 3 orifices should be developed in unison, and refuse to become a one-sided war god. You are laughing so happily, did you successfully open the brain orifice? Shen Qinghan, who was sitting cross-legged on the side, looked at Lin Zichen with a smile on her face with one hand on her cheek. Seeing her smiling face, Lin Zichen guessed something in his heart and asked, You also successfully opened the brain orifice? Guessed right. Shen Qinghan snapped her fingers. Then her delicate body fell down, her head resting on Lin Zichen's legs, and her little face said proudly, Lin Zi, I successfully opened the brain orifice more than 10 minutes earlier than you, am I good? That's amazing. Lin Zichen stroked Shen Qinghan's pretty face, looked down at her with a smile and praised her. Shen Qinghan, who was praised, smiled as brightly as a flower. From childhood to adulthood, she was almost inferior to Lin Zichen in everything. It was rare that her brain was opened earlier than Lin Zichen's, which immediately made her feel full of accomplishment, just like the sense of accomplishment of defeating the ultimate boss in a game. By the way, I have a question for you. Shen Qinghan put away the smile on her face and suddenly changed the subject. Lin Zichen flirted with her soft hair and asked softly, What's the question? That's it. How did you feel when you were delivering blood and qi to the pavilion master? Shen Qinghan looked into Lin Zichen's eyes and asked curiously. Lin Zichen said without thinking, I really didn't pay attention to this. When I was delivering blood and qi to the pavilion master, I didn't think so much. The hands were so close, how could I not think so much? Touched for so many days in a row. Touched twice a day. Touched for 6 hours at a time. The size was already memorized. It is no exaggeration to say that if Lin Zichen takes a ball of yarn now, he can directly sew a perfect size underwear for Qi Qingmo. This is the fact, but considering Shen Qinghan's feelings, Lin Zichen can only tell a white lie and say that he doesn't know the feel. Unfortunately, Shen Qinghan is just silly and cute, not really stupid. After hearing Lin Zichen's answer, she pouted a little dissatisfied and scolded, Liar, you have been touching it for so many days, I guess you can feel the size, and you still say you don't know the feel. Lin Zichen argued with reason, when the blood and qi are released, the hands are hot. It feels like a stove when you touch it. How can you feel it? Really? Really? Then let me touch it. Shen Qinghan said, put her hand into Lin Zichen's clothes, put her hand close to his chest, and then thought of releasing blood and qi. The next second, Shen Qinghan found that her hands were really hot. My head was full of hot feelings. There was no feeling at all. After confirming that Lin Zichen was not lying, Shen Qinghan's beautiful eyes slightly curved, and she said softly and coquettishly, It really feels hot, I blamed you wrongly. You blamed me wrongly, give me some compensation. What kind of compensation do you want? It's up to you. Lin Zichen played with Shen Qinghan's white and soft feet, and gave her the right to choose the compensation method. Shen Qinghan thought about it, and smiled with more and more attractive eyes. Then let me be your licking dog, let you experience the feeling of being a master, how about it? Deal. Master, honor will warm your bed. Shen Qinghan smiled dirty. After that, she got up from Lin Zichen's legs, gently pushed Lin Zichen to lie flat on the bed, and began to serve this fiancé who grew up with her skillfully. Lin Zichen closed his eyes and quietly enjoyed the compensation of the little dirty girl. Just then, the ground suddenly trembled with a noticeable vibration, accompanied by a boom 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 sound. Many small objects on the table were knocked down and fell to the ground one after another, making crisp noises. Earthquake. Shen Qinghan sat up suddenly, with a look of panic on her pretty face. Lin Zichen was much calmer than her. He quickly sat up from the bed, instinctively took her hand and rushed to the window, wanting to take her out of the window to escape from the dormitory. But when the two rushed to the window, they did not jump out, but stood there in a daze. Because the two were shocked to find that the earthquake under their feet at this moment was not the crustal movement they knew. It was a mysterious towering tree with a blood-red body that was breaking out of the ground in the city center and rushing into the sky, causing the ground to tremble. What's going on? How could such a terrifying towering tree suddenly appear in the city center? Lin Ziai, am I dreaming? Shen Qinghan stared blankly at the mysterious towering tree that had already reached a height that was invisible to the naked eye and almost covered the entire city center in a shadow, with astonishment and disbelief on her face. Lin Zichen did not answer her question, his brows were tightly furrowed, and he felt very uneasy. The moment he saw the mysterious towering tree, the three words Shenzi cult immediately appeared in his mind. Shenzi cult is going to attack Shanghai City? What is the purpose? Purely sabotage? Or, is the target me? When Lin Zichen thought of this, he suddenly felt bad and his face changed slightly. But soon, his face eased. Shenzi cult made such a big fuss, it must not be to catch me. There must be other purposes. Don't be too panic. Just as he was comforting himself in his heart and trying to stabilize his mood. Next to her, Shen Qinghan realized belatedly that Shenzi cult might be causing trouble, and the expression on her pretty face suddenly became panicked. She turned to look at Lin Zichen, held his hand tightly, and said extremely nervously. It's over with the woods. The giant tree outside must be the work of the Shenzi cult. Those pagans from the gods planting religion have attacked you 3 times and 4 times, and they attach great importance to you. They will definitely not let you go this time. The pavilion master has entered the origin, the master has entered the origin, and many important figures have entered the origin. Once the heretics of the Shenzi sect attack you, no one can save you. What should I do? She was very afraid that Lin Zichen would be taken away by the pagans of Shenzi sect, and she couldn't imagine a life without Lin Zichen by her side. Without Lin Zichen's company, she felt that she would definitely not be able to survive. After hearing her words, Lin Zichen rarely said anything to comfort her. Instead, his expression became extremely solemn, and his whole heart sank to the bottom. At this point in time, almost all the powerful people on the earth have entered the source to resist the beasts. The entire earth has become extremely weak. And Shen Zijiao specifically chose this time to launch an attack on the earth. It is difficult not to make people suspect that this is a long-planned attack. Even if you think about it carefully, the reason why the beast herd suddenly broke out in the source area may be the work of the Shenzi cult. The purpose is to draw away all the powerful people on the earth so that they can launch an attack on the earth. At this time, a cell phone rang. It was Lin Zichen's cell phone that rang. He took out his cell phone and looked at it, and found that the call was from Zhang Wangzhen. Without thinking too much, I answered the call immediately. Then, Zhang Wangzhen's worried voice came from the other end of the phone. Xiao Chen, there was an earthquake just now. Are you and Hanan okay? Mom, Hanan and I are fine. Are you and Dad okay at home? Your dad and I are fine. Your Uncle Shen and Aunt Meng are here too. Everyone is fine. That's good. Lin Zichen breathed a sigh of relief. After that, he added, Mom, Hanan and I are going back now, we will be there soon. Be careful on the road. Yes, I will. Mom, I'll hang up first. After ending the call with Zhang Wangzhen, Lin Zichen didn't stay in the dormitory for long. He quickly jumped out of the window with Shen Qinghan and rushed to the family area as quickly as possible. When a disaster strikes, he just wants to stay with his family and protect them. City Center. On the scarlet towering tree, a fox-eared girl wearing a purple dress stood enchantingly on the top of a giant tree. Under the breeze, the skirt fluttered slightly, revealing a pair of naked feet and white calves, which were extremely beautiful. With her captivating beautiful eyes, she looked towards the direction of Shanghai University, with a charming smile on her face and murmured. Little bed slave, we haven't seen each other for half a year, can you still resist my illusion this time? Compared to when she appeared in the coastal forest half a year ago, Her aura at this time was even more powerful. Far beyond the ordinary stage. We have reached the advanced stage where there is no one in a million. Moreover, it is the highest level among the advanced stages, the advanced 9th level of Dzogchen. Qi, blood, and spirit, both advanced 9th levels of Dzogchen. This time, she was confident enough to bring Lin Zichen back to the place of origin. Before taking him away, he had to play cat and mouse to let Lin Zichen experience what it means to have no power to fight back. Mom, Mom, woo woo woo. Under the giant scarlet tree, a little girl covered in blood stood in front of the ruins, crying and calling for her mother. Her mother was buried under the rubble in the earthquake just now, and there was no movement. The fox-eared girl at the top of the giant scarlet tree heard the cry of the little girl coming from below from a distance of thousands of meters. She looked down following the sound. What you see is a ruins full of ruins. There were cries and wails everywhere. The sudden appearance of the giant scarlet tree almost destroyed the center of Shanghai city, causing huge casualties. It's really pitiful. The fox-eared girl shook her head pitifully. Then with a thought, a purple magic circle was formed under the alluring naked jade feet, instantly teleporting himself to the scarlet giant tree, and appeared in front of the little girl out of thin air. The sound of mother in the little girl's cry deeply touched her heartstrings. She loved her mother very much and enjoyed every moment she spent with her. She has been bathed in mother's love since she was a child and grew up, and she cannot bear to see others without a mother. P.S. Set the bowls, please recommend monthly tickets. End of chapter. Chapter 224 A huge scarlet tree that blocks out the sun. Disaster is coming. It is both a risk and a... Mom, Mom, woo woo woo. The little girl was still crying and didn't notice the fox-eared girl at all. The fox-eared girl looked her over, her body was covered in blood, and there were oozing wounds everywhere. The injuries were not serious, they were all superficial wounds, but they looked quite scary. It will probably leave scars after it heals. Stop crying and open your mouth. The fox-eared girl looked at the little girl and said softly. The little girl ignored her and continued to cry and call her mother. The fox-eared girl had no patience, so her eyes glowed with a coquettish purple light, instantly controlling the little girl's spirit. Then he ordered with a strong attitude, "Don't cry, open your mouth." As soon as he finished speaking, the crying stopped. The little girl obeyed the command and opened her mouth in a daze. The fox-eared girl raised her jade hand, flicked her fingers, and shot a pill into the little girl's mouth. The elixir melted in the mouth and instantly healed the little girl's wounds, making her damaged skin intact. After that, the fox-eared girl spread her spiritual power into the ruins ahead, looking for the little girl's mother. Within a moment, she found a figure in the ruins. It's a young woman. The woman's chest was penetrated by a steel bar, and she fell into a coma due to excessive blood loss. It won't be long before all life is gone. Total death. The fox-eared girl had an idea and generated a teleportation circle under the woman, teleporting the woman out of the ruins. Then he flicked his finger again and shot a pill into the woman's mouth. As soon as the elixir entered the mouth, the woman's injuries began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. His pale face gradually turned rosy. He was successfully out of danger. Seeing that the woman was fine, the fox-eared girl turned her attention to the other people around her. At first glance, one can see a tragic scene. Everywhere you look there are ruins. People on earth are dead and injured. Cries, moans, screams, and other sounds are constantly heard. The fox-eared girl stood quietly and watched for a while, feeling a trace of pity in her heart. Then the mental intensity surged, and a huge teleportation circle was formed on the ground within a few hundred meters. Then with a thought, all the Earth's creatures on the magic circle were teleported to a safe area. Do it all. The fox-eared girl felt dizzy and staggered a few steps weakly. The consumption is too great and the body simply cannot bear it. Fortunately, there are pills that can relieve it. The fox-eared girl calmed down, and then she formed a blue pill in her hand out of thin air, and opened her mouth to take it without thinking. As soon as the blue pill is taken into the mouth, it turns into strands of blue warm current, flowing smoothly into the depths of the brain, greatly increasing the speed of mental generation. Only a few seconds passed. The fox-eared girl, who had been so dizzy just now that she could not stand upright, immediately became full of energy and her depression disappeared. Why do you want to save the people on Earth? A ferocious human face slowly emerged from the giant scarlet tree behind him, and he asked the fox-eared girl with puzzled eyes. The fox-eared girl did not answer this question, but asked, "Why don't I save the people on Earth? Since we are invading the Earth, we will naturally kill the people on Earth instead of saving them. Don't get me wrong, I'm different from your Sun and Moon Holy Land. I never thought about invading the Earth. I just took a ride on you and came to the Earth to find my bed slave, that's all. Whether it is our Sun and Moon Holy Land or your King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain, they all represent the place of origin. We, King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain, are just a small neutral force with no ambitions. Please don't change our stance." Shanghai University. Family Area. As soon as Lin Zichen returned home, his parents in the living room hurriedly stood up and came over to greet him, asking how he and Shen Qinghan were doing and whether they were injured in the earthquake just now. Dad, Mom, Han-in, and I have evolved to an advanced biological level. Our bodies are invulnerable. Even if the house collapses, nothing will happen. Lin Zichen smiled and said. Zhang Wangzhen rolled her eyes at him angrily, You kid, it's true that nothing will happen if the house collapses. Why are you saying such unlucky words? What my son said is true. Lin Yanzheng said at the side. Zhang Wangzhen glared at him and said dissatisfiedly, I care about my son, so what are you trying to do? When Zhang Wangzhen glared at Lin Yanzheng, Lin Zichen glanced at Zhang Wangzhen's belly. Nearly half a year has passed. At this time, Zhang Wangzhen, who is pregnant, has obviously raised her belly, and she is about to give birth in about 4 months. A simple family of 3 will soon welcome a new member. I don't know if he is a younger brother or a younger sister. I hope to have a sister. Lin Zichen thought to himself. For the next time, the two families sat in the living room, discussing with worry the giant scarlet tree that suddenly appeared in the city center. Lin Zichen didn't discuss it for too long, just said some words to reassure his parents, and soon left the house and walked to the rooftop of the family building. I thought about standing on a high point and using Eye of the Sky to look at the giant scarlet tree in the city center to see what the situation was like now. Shen Qinghan saw that he was going to the rooftop and followed him without thinking. After arriving at the rooftop, Lin Zichen jumped up and landed on the water tower at the highest point of the family building, quietly looking at the city center 10 miles away. With the effect of Eye in the Sky, he could see every detail over there. The scarlet giant tree towered into the sky. There were large ruins under the tree. There were mechanical modified people everywhere who came to rescue. All the scenes at the moment looked normal. But soon, Lin Zichen found something wrong. Such a big accident happened in the city center, why didn't we see many casualties? What's going on? Lin Zichen was puzzled. And in the city center, the mechanical modified people who were responsible for the rescue were also very puzzled. The location under the scarlet giant tree was obviously the most damaged area, but why didn't we see many casualties inside? This was really a bit weird. But weird as it was, the mechanical modified people didn't dwell on this issue too much. Instead, they were busy evacuating the citizens in the city center to prevent the scarlet towering tree from making any more movements and causing greater casualties. How long will it take for Professor Huang, a xenobotanist, to arrive? A male cyborg who led the rescue team asked the female cyborg beside him. The female cyborg replied, It will arrive in about 10 minutes. Where is the support from the military district? It will arrive in 5 minutes at the latest. How many mechas can the military district deploy? Qianshen, Changzhou, Nangwen, Daoshan, Haiwan, Zanhai, a total of 6 mechas, all can be deployed, and are rushing to the city center from the provincial military district headquarters. The female cyborg answered accurately. The male cyborg nodded, and then led a group of cyborgs to immediately carry out rescue work. All the scenes and sounds played in the city center were seen and heard by Lin Zichen, who was far away in the family building of Shanghai University. But he didn't pay any attention to it. At this moment, his attention was all on the towering scarlet giant tree. The height of the scarlet giant tree was extremely high, and it was estimated to be more than a kilometer. It is twice as tall as the little slender waist tower in Changzhou City. The diameter of the trunk is close to 100 meters, and the area it occupies is almost equivalent to a standard 400-meter runway, which is very shocking. The area blocked by the branches and leaves above is 1,000 times the area of the trunk, up to 10 million square meters, covering the entire city center in a strange scarlet shadow. Covering the sky and blocking the sun. Strange and dark. It makes people feel extremely uneasy. Lin Zichen looked at the scarlet towering tree far away in the city center, with a very solemn expression on his face. It's just a tree, but it can actually block the entire city center. He has been a human for 19 years and has never seen such an exaggerated behemoth. I'm afraid that the kunpang in the myth that is so big that it can cover the sky and block the sun can only be this big at most. Lin Ziai, the tree in the city center is too big. How high is the level of this creature? Shen Qinghan frowned slightly, feeling very uneasy. After saying that, she hesitated for a moment, and then irresponsibly suggested, I feel that we can't stay in Shanghai City anymore, why don't we take our parents away? Lin Zichen shook his head and said, You can run away for a while, but you can't run away forever. If Shanghai City is really breached, other places will soon be breached. Instead of living a little longer, it is better to stay and protect Shanghai City to deal with the disaster that may break out next. He has no intention of leaving Shanghai City, and wants to stay and advance and retreat together with Shanghai City. Or to be more precise, he wants to obtain evolutionary resources in the disaster that may break out next time to accelerate his own evolution. Shen Qinghan pursed his lips and said, But I think it's better to live a little longer than to go to the battlefield and risk death now. Lin Zichen disagreed and said, Disasters are risks and opportunities. The evolutionary resources on Earth are too scarce and can't meet the evolutionary needs of both of us. If we want to increase the speed of evolution, we need to accept challenges, embrace risks, and kill alien beasts and plants to obtain evolutionary resources. The appearance of the scarlet giant tree reminded him of the sudden appearance of a large number of alien plants and beasts in Shanghai City, which made him suspect that these three things were the work of the divine plant cult. He had a hunch that a large number of alien beasts and plants would emerge from the city center and invade Shanghai City. And these alien beasts and plants would become the nutrients for his evolution. But I think it's good to take steady steps. There's no need to pursue the speed of evolution blindly. After listening to Lin Zichen's words, Shen Qinghan thought about it and still felt that she didn't agree, so she could only say weakly. She didn't want to take risks, she just wanted to stay with important people and live well, that's all. Lin Zichen patiently explained to her, you have to know that time waits for no one. The current situation on Earth is visibly bad. If we don't evolve into higher-level creatures as quickly as possible within a limited time, then when the Earth suddenly falls one day, we will have no power to protect ourselves and can only wait for death. In order to have enough power to protect ourselves when this day comes, we have to race against time to accelerate evolution and take risks a little more radically. Just after saying this, the next second the phone in his pocket twitched violently. Lin Zichen took out his phone from his pocket and found that it was a notification from the school app. Emergency notice. Students with a biological level of ordinary level 5 or above, please gather at the gymnasium immediately and wait for arrangements to go to the city center for rescue. No absence without reason, otherwise you will be held accountable later. Minimal punishment, severe expulsion, and even more severe imprisonment. After reading these 4 information notifications, Lin Zichen couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, feeling a little surprised. He didn't expect that going to the city center for support was actually mandatory. This is almost the same as conscripting men to go to the battlefield during war. It seems that the sudden appearance of the scarlet giant tree has brought about a much more serious impact than expected. The human leaders must know something. Lin Zichen's thoughts. Shen Qinghan, who was standing aside, also saw the notification sent on the school app and said uncomfortably, Lin Ziai, this matter seems to be more serious than we thought. Lin Zichen didn't say anything, just said, let's go to the gymnasium together. Yeah. Shen Qinghan nodded. Soon, the two left the rooftop and prepared to set off for the gymnasium. Before leaving, the two went home to say goodbye to their parents, told them what they were going to do next, and let them know. When the parents of the two families heard that their children were about to go to the city center for rescue, they were all very worried and asked if they could not go. Without a doubt, the final answer was that they had to go and could not escape. Su Meng walked to Lin Zichen with a sad face and stopped, begging him in an almost pleading tone. Xiao Chen, Aunt Meng, and your Uncle Shen only have Hanan as a daughter. You must protect her for Aunt Meng and Uncle Shen and don't let her get into trouble. Don't worry, Aunt Meng, I will definitely protect Hanan. Lin Zichen said affirmatively. After saying this, he and Shen Qinghan did not waste any more time and left home together to meet at the gymnasium. On the way, Shen Qinghan said seriously, Lin Ziai, if you are going to be raped and captured by the people of the Shenzi cult, I will go with you, and I will ask them to capture me too. Okay. Lin Zichen did not comfort her, and only responded with this one word. He felt that if he was really captured by the Shenzi cult, it would be good to let Shen Qinghan be captured by the Shenzi cult as well. To be honest, he was worried about letting Shen Qinghan live alone. Instead of letting Shen Qinghan live alone, it would be better for the two of them to live together in the Shenzi cult. Even in the Shenzi cult, as long as he was there, he could ensure that Shen Qinghan would not be harmed. Soon, the two arrived at the gymnasium. As soon as they entered, it was empty inside, with few people. Only the students' union came relatively well. Obviously, Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan were relatively early. Let's go over there and wait. Lin Zichen looked around the gymnasium and said to a place by the window. Just when he was about to take Shen Qinghan to the window. Suddenly, there was a strong tremor under my feet. The ground trembled slightly. The ceiling creaked. Everyone present was shocked. P.S. I am setting up a poll and asking for monthly votes and recommendation tickets. Chapter 225, Open the Giant Strange Mouse Album. The admiration of the mechanical genius girl. The sudden earthquake caught everyone in the gym off guard. Fortunately, the earthquake did not last too long, and it was over in just a few seconds. Instead, the screen above the central martial arts platform suddenly lit up, showing the scene in the city center. It was the shooting angle of the drone. Lin Zichen looked at the screen and saw that under the scarlet giant tree in the picture, dozens of bottomless caves had collapsed. The entrance of the cave was dark and bottomless, like a black hole in the universe that could swallow everything. A group of well-equipped mechanical modified people did not dare to rush over to explore. They only dared to release the detection robot from a distance and control the robot to enter the cave to find out. The detection robot just approached the edge of the cave. The next second, Those dark caves all rushed out with a huge black shadow several meters long, and rushed towards the detection robot that wanted to enter the cave with a buzz. It was just a blink of an eye. All the released detection robots were torn into pieces by the huge black shadows that suddenly appeared. The next second, there was a deafening sound of ammunition pouring out. The mechanically modified people fought with the black shadows. However, in less than 10 seconds, the mechanically modified people on the screen were drowned by the constantly pouring black shadows and completely disappeared from the screen. Lin Zichen looked at the familiar huge black shadows on the screen, and his expression suddenly became extremely solemn. Giant alien rats. The black shadows on the screen were giant alien rats that had disappeared for several years. These giant alien rats were actually related to the Shenzi religion. When Lin Zichen looked solemn, everyone around him was panicked. Why are there so many giant alien rats? It's over, Shanghai City is going to be finished. I don't want to die yet. The rat disaster in Yinghai country more than 10 years ago, everyone present had seen it in the video and had studied it in the subsequent textbooks. Know how tragic the scene was. Know how heavy the casualties were. Knowing how terrifying the giant alien rats are. It is no exaggeration to say that almost half of the Yinghai kingdom was paralyzed because of this. And at this moment, a large number of giant alien rats appeared in the land where they lived, which made everyone present feel a little desperate. With so many giant alien rats, it feels like Shanghai City will be destroyed into ruins by the rats on the screen like the capital of Yinghai kingdom back then. Shen Qinghan pursed her lips and said pessimistically. Lin Zichen comforted, it will be fine. Then he stopped talking and stared at the big screen above, always paying attention to the situation in the city center. During this period, people kept coming into the gymnasium and looking up at the big screen above. About a few minutes passed. The gymnasium, which was originally a little empty, suddenly became crowded. Almost all the students in the school with a biology level of ordinary level 5 or above came to the gymnasium to gather at this moment. They were all waiting for arrangements with some anxiety before setting off to the city center for rescue. President, do you want to organize it? A female mechanical person walked to Lin Zichen and stopped, asking respectfully. She was the personal secretary of Zhou Suihong, the former president of the student union. Since Lin Zichen defeated Zhou Suihong, she has become Lin Zichen's personal secretary. She wants to provide services to Lin Zichen and assist him in handling affairs. Lin Zichen didn't even look at the personal secretary, and said lightly, ask the vice president to organize it. He became the president just to get credits, and didn't want to be in charge. Okay, I know. The female secretary walked towards the vice president after she finished speaking. She never wanted Lin Zichen to organize it. This time she just asked him out of procedure, so that he wouldn't have any opinions later. After the female secretary left, Lin Zichen sensed everyone present. Almost all of them were ordinary creatures, and there were less than 20 advanced creatures. Most of the advanced creatures in the school went into the source to resist the beast tide some time ago. Those who could stay were basically the faculty and staff in charge of administration. In addition to the faculty and staff, there were also the 3 senior strongmen of the student union, former President Zhou Suihong, Vice President Tan Wanyi, and Director of the Discipline Inspection Department Han Weifeng. Students, be quiet. The Deputy Director of the Academic Affairs Office, a man with more than 2/3 of his body covered in metal, stood upright on the central martial arts stage and shouted loudly to the students below. Upon hearing this, the students immediately quieted down and let the Deputy Director of the Academic Affairs Office speak. The Deputy Director of the Academic Affairs Office said briefly, I believe that everyone knows what is going on after watching the screen now. The city center of our Shanghai city was attacked by the divine plant cult, and a rat plague broke out. At this critical moment, as a member of the inner campus of Shanghai University, we have the obligation to go to the city center for rescue. Now, please stand in position according to your biological level. Advanced 1 stand here. Ordinary 9th level 1 stand here. Ordinary 8th level 1 stand here. Ordinary 5th level 1 stand here. Under the loud shout of the Deputy Director of the Academic Affairs Office, the students set out to their respective positions and lined up in an orderly manner. Seeing that everyone had lined up, the Deputy Director of the Academic Affairs Office shouted again, this trip will be very dangerous, but it is also an opportunity. Giant rats are terrible, very terrible, but for us, they are a rare evolutionary resource. Under normal circumstances, we have to evolve to a high level of biological level and have the qualifications to enter the source before we can encounter so many beasts in the source. And now, we can encounter so many beasts on Earth, and almost all of them are ordinary beasts. The cost-effectiveness of this is far greater than the cost-effectiveness of us risking our lives to enter the source to obtain evolutionary resources. Everyone should cherish this opportunity to win a large amount of evolutionary resources with minimal risk. Take this opportunity to soar into the sky and change your life. The Deputy Director of the Academic Affairs Office shouted loudly, giving every student present a crazy chicken blood. The students were still a little panicked, but after listening to the words of the Deputy Director of the Academic Affairs Office, they all became excited and their eyes were full of excitement. Seeing this, Lin Zichen sincerely admired the deputy director of the Academic Affairs Office on the martial arts stage. Just a simple remark made the students who were originally afraid become enthusiastic. Soon, under the arrangement of the deputy director of the Academic Affairs Office, a team of nearly 2,000 people, transported by 40 buses, drove out of Shanghai University at a very fast speed and headed straight for the city center. Nearly half an hour later, the bus where Lin Zichen was located was the first to arrive at the outskirts of the city center. The moment the bus stopped, the high-level masters in the car immediately got off the bus quickly and formed a team to rush to the Scarlet Giant Tree, to rescue any compatriots they met along the way, and to kill every giant alien rat they met along the way. Seeing everyone walking in groups, the deputy director of the Academic Affairs Office, who was the leader, shouted with a serious face. You are one of the few high-level strong people who can sit in one place. It is a waste to act together. We will act separately and fight individually to expand the rescue range as much as possible and improve the rescue efficiency. But we must act within our capabilities and not be entangled by too many giant alien rats at the same time. Although the individual strength of giant alien rats is not strong, they have a large number. If they are entangled by multiple giant alien rats at the same time, there is a certain danger. After saying this, the deputy director of the Academic Affairs Office waved his hand and said, Action begins. The moment the words fell, everyone immediately dispersed. No nonsense from beginning to end. Strong action. Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan also chose to act separately. But they were not far away, only a few hundred meters away. With such a close distance, if there is any problem with Shen Qinghan, Lin Zichen can rush to rescue in time. Boom. Suddenly, a black shadow broke out of the ground and rushed towards Shen Qinghan at a high speed. It was a giant alien rat with 8 eyes. The biological level was not high, only ordinary 8th level, far from being Shen Qinghan's opponent. However, Shen Qinghan was facing an alien beast alone for the first time, and she couldn't help but feel a little nervous. But she was nervous, but she was not afraid of the giant alien rat rushing towards her. When the giant alien rat rushed in front of her and opened a bloody mouth to bite down, her eyes condensed, the blood in her body burst out, and she punched the rat head fiercely. Bang! There was only a dull sound of impact. The giant alien rat, which was nearly 7 meters in size, was directly blown up by a pink fist, and red and white instantly scattered all over the ground. So disgusting! Shen Qinghan looked at the blood splashed on her body and felt a little uncomfortable. Then, she immediately had an idea and used the water control ability of Blue Jellyfish King to bounce off all the blood of the giant alien rat on her body. After doing this, Shen Qinghan had another idea and extracted all the blood in the giant alien rat's body, condensing it into a drop of blood essence floating on her body. Then she took out a plastic bottle as big as her little finger from her pocket, unscrewed the bottle cap, and collected the floating drop of blood essence. As for the giant alien rat corpse on the ground that had been drained of blood essence and only a stinking skin was left, she didn't even look at it and walked around it. This is a skill that Yuan Dongji taught her, how to collect spoils. In most cases, the corpses of alien beasts are huge. It is very troublesome to take away the corpses of alien beasts. Even if you don't mind the trouble, you can't take much away. When it is impossible to take away the corpse of an alien beast, you can use this method of extracting blood essence to take away all the most valuable blood in the body of the alien beast. If it is a high-level or higher alien beast, you can take an extra beast core with you. Taking away both the essence and the beast core basically means squeezing out all the value of an alien beast's corpse. On the other side, Lin Zichen's way of taking away the spoils is even simpler and more brutal than Shen Qinghan's. He directly killed the giant alien rat with one punch, and then used survival of the fittest to devour it, devouring all the life essence contained in the corpse, leaving nothing behind. You devoured a large amount of life essence of giant alien rats / Chapter 226 Three-Eyed Demon Clan. Lin Zichen and number 039, S secret exposed. What happens? The mechanical genius girl Liu Qingyu looked at her severed lower body with confusion in her eyes. She couldn't figure out who was attacking her. The heat-sensing device on the body showed no response, and could not sense the source of the attack at all. Buzz. The harsh sound of breaking through the air sounded again. The next moment, a stream of light came at extremely high speed. Accurately hit Liu Qingyu's chest. Passed through the energy core in the middle. It exploded into fragments all over the sky. It's over. I want to die. Liu Qingyu felt the breath of death, and his face was filled with despair. At this time, a sound of breaking through the air came from below her. She thought the streamer was coming again and wanted to take away her life. But when she desperately looked in the direction of the sound, she saw Lin Zichen's figure. Before she could realize what was going on, Lin Zichen rushed in front of her and hugged her upper body, which had a big hole in her chest. Then he released his energy and blood, adjusted his direction, and rushed toward the back of a large shopping mall in front of him. In the process of falling, he used his mental power to draw a pair of long alloy legs that were also falling, namely Liu Qingyu's lower body, into his arms through the air. Seeing this scene, Liu Qingyu was extremely shocked. Flying in the air. This is a skill that can only be mastered by mechanical modifications equipped with anti-airflow power devices. Or, it's a skill that can only be mastered by gene fusions with the gene of flying alien beasts. In addition to the above two, only people with extremely high mental strength can achieve flying in the air by controlling objects in the air. Lin Zichen, on the other hand, is neither a mechanical transformer nor a gene fusion person, and his mental strength has not reached a rare level, but he can achieve short-term airborne flight through the release of energy and blood. How strong is this qi and blood before you can use it like this? Are pure-blooded humans so outrageous? This is really shocking. The more Liu Qingyu thought about it, the more incredible it became, and the more he admired Lin Zichen in his heart. After admiration, there is a burst of envy from the heart. Liu Qingyu doesn't like mechanical transformation at all, preferring a body of flesh and blood. But she had no choice. When she was very young, her parents took her for mechanical transformation, and more than half of her body was made of alloy. There is no way of genetic fusion, let alone pure-blood human beings. He is destined to be a mechanical transformation person in this life. Buzz. 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 Suddenly, 3 consecutive sounds pierced the air. 3 streams of light containing majestic energy shot out from the rooftop of a tall building behind him at the same time. At lightning speed, he shot towards Lin Zichen who was in the air. Lin Zichen reacted very quickly. Under the prompt of danger sense, he adjusted his landing direction in advance by releasing his energy and blood, and dodged the attack with no risk. The 3 streams of light that were avoided hit the large shopping mall in the next second. It penetrated the wall directly with a bang. A large amount of gravel was shot down. 3 shocking large holes were left in the hard wall of the large shopping mall. Lin Zichen glanced at the holes in the wall, and suddenly felt scared. The destructive power of the streamer is too strong. If he had been hit just now, he would probably have been hit here and there. It was only because the alloys on Liu Qingyu's body were strong enough that he was cut in half and penetrated to the core. If it were an ordinary mechanical transformation person, it would probably disintegrate in the air on the spot and turn into debris on the ground. Soon, Lin Zichen held the 2 bodies of the mechanical genius girl and landed safely on the back of the large shopping mall. As soon as they landed, Shen Qinghan, who was hiding there, walked over quickly and asked with a worried look on his face, Lin Ziyi, is she okay? Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Before Lin Zichen could answer, Liu Qingyu, who was held in his arms, said, I'm fine. Are you really okay? Don't be brave. Shen Qinghan looked at Liu Qingyu's chest with a big hole in it and didn't quite believe that this mechanical genius girl was really fine. Liu Qingyu smiled and said, it's okay, as long as my head is not crushed, I won't die. That's good. Shen Qinghan breathed a sigh of relief. She has no relationship with Liu Qingyu. They are not familiar with each other at all, they are just strangers. However, she would still care about Liu Qingyu. He didn't want to see this mechanical genius girl who had been active on the TV screen since she was a child die in front of her. She didn't want to see anyone die in front of her eyes, except her enemies. Lin Zichen put down Liu Qingyu's body with his back against the wall, then looked at Shen Qinghan and said, Han-in, please look after her. I'll find the enemy hiding in the dark and kill him. Why don't you go? Shen Qinghan looked worried, I feel it will be very dangerous. Lin Zichen looked calm, I will run faster than anyone else if there is danger, so don't worry. After saying that, he turned around and walked towards the tall building where the stream of light had just shot out. At this time, a huge roar sounded. It is the sound of the anti-draft power device. A mechanical engineer is here. Lin Zichen suddenly became alert when he heard the sound. When he looked up to the sky, all the energy and blood in his body was surging crazily. Be prepared to attack at any time. He suspected that the enemy who had just attacked Liu Qingyu from the dark was the unknown mechanical cyborg who was making a roar in the sky and was about to fly over the large shopping mall. A mechanical cyborg who had joined the divine plant cult and became a traitor. Seeing Lin Zichen's alert face, ready to attack at any time, Liu Qingyu, who was leaning against the wall, quickly said, it's not the enemy, it's my master who is here. Your master? Yes, my master. Liu Qingyu explained, when I was shot down in the sky just now, I immediately sent a distress signal to my master. My master is also participating in the rescue in the city center, not far from us. With the precise positioning of GPS, I will be found soon. After speaking, she looked up at the sky, and her vocal cords turned into a loudspeaker and shouted loudly, Master, here. As soon as the voice fell. The next second, a fully armed mechanical cyborg appeared above the 3 people. Lin Zichen looked up. When he saw the face of the mechanical man in the sky, his expression was stunned. It was her. Lin Zichen recognized Liu Qingyu's master. He had met the other party once in junior high school. It was a dark and windy night. At that time, he rode his bike with Shen Qinghan to buy ghost squid meat. On the way home after buying meat, he met the security team dealing with a rat god rapist who was holding a hostage. The hostage was a teacher in his kindergarten, Teacher Strawberry. He threw stones to attack the rat god rapist and rescued the hostage Teacher Strawberry. Then, the rat god rapist was transformed into a rat man and killed everyone. When everyone was helpless, a female mechanical rapist arrived in time, bursting a laser from her chest and blasting the rat man into a charcoal, and then left in style. And Liu Qingyu's master who appeared above them all at this moment was the female mechanical rapist back then. Lin Zichen looked at Liu Qingyu's master. The equipment on her body is full of high-end feeling. Her strength looks much stronger than before. It is estimated that she can be compared with the advanced 5th level gene fusion. It can only be said that the strength of mechanical modified people is improved quickly. As long as technology is improved, the strength can be improved by 1 second, and there is no need to study hard. Buzz. Suddenly, a sound of breaking through the air sounded. The next second, Liu Qingyu's master was concentrated by a stream of light, and his body was separated on the spot and fell from the sky. Lin Zichen was stunned for a moment. After reacting, he immediately dispersed his mental power to control the object through the air, and steadily caught Liu Qingyu's master whose body was separated, and sent him to Liu Qingyu's side. Liu Qingyu was very worried and said, "Master, are you okay?" The female mechanical modified person looked confused. After hearing Liu Qingyu's shout, she was stunned for several seconds before she came back to her senses and responded, "I'm fine." The female mechanical cyborg, who was dozens or hundreds of times stronger than Liu Qingyu, didn't understand who attacked her just now and how she was attacked. Because when she was attacked just now, all the sensing devices on her body did not respond. In contrast, Lin Zichen's danger sense responded. When he was attacked by 3 streams of light before, he immediately sensed the danger and the source of the danger. The source of this danger was on the rooftop of the high-rise building opposite the large shopping mall. "Hanin, stay here and don't run around. I'll get rid of the sneak attacker and come back." After leaving this sentence, Lin Zichen exerted force on his feet, and with a bang, he kicked out a deep pit with spider web cracks on the edge of the ground, and the whole person instantly turned into a residual image and rushed out. Before Shen Qinghan could react, he had already rushed into the high-rise building opposite the shopping mall. He could choose to release his qi and blood, and spray it on the rooftop of the high-rise building opposite. But he didn't do that. Instead, he chose to gallop on land. Enemies hiding in the rooftops of tall buildings can attack from a distance. Going through the air is too conspicuous and will be used as a target by the enemy. It is safer to gallop on land. Buzz. Accompanied by a long sound of breaking through the air, Lin Zichen rushed to the rooftop of the tall building. Then, in a corner of the rooftop, a huge figure was seen. It was a humanoid creature with 3 eyes. It was nearly 4 meters tall. Every part of the body was filled with strong muscles and explosive power. The biological pressure exuded was infinitely close to the advanced 7th level. It was the advanced 6th level of perfection. "Lin Zichen, I was just about to go find you, but I didn't expect you to come to me on your own initiative, which saved me a lot of effort." The 3-eyed giant looked at Lin Zichen and said with a smile, not taking Lin Zichen seriously at all. "Can speak human language? Is this an alienated earthling?" "No. Not an earthling. It's a creature from the source. There is an extremely special energy body in the other party's body, source force. I heard that your body is very strong. It just so happens that the 3-eyed demon clan I belong to is a race known for its strong body. Now, let me experience the strength of your body." As soon as the voice fell, the 3-eyed demon clan took a step forward and rushed to Lin Zichen in an instant. Immediately, the giant hand as thick as a bucket waved, with the momentum of creating the world, and punched Lin Zichen's chest. Lin Zichen was not afraid at all. He chose to fight head-on and raised his hand to punch out, and the fist of the 3-eyed giant was smashed together. The next second, there was a bang. The arm of the 3-eyed giant, as thick as a bucket, exploded, and the shoulder and the head above exploded together. It turned into blood flowers all over the sky. Died on the spot. Plop. The body of the 3-eyed giant fell heavily. Until the moment before his death, the 3-eyed giant couldn't figure out why he lost. When it punched just now, it deliberately avoided Lin Zichen's head. It was afraid that it would blow up his head with one punch. Let him die suddenly. As a result, it was unable to catch him back. But the reality is that in the previous fist fight, it was killed by a punch without any ability to fight back, and it didn't even have the chance to use the strongest third eye on its forehead. If I hadn't been suppressed by the boundary force on Earth, I would definitely not have lost. This was the last thought that emerged in the mind of the 3-eyed giant before he died. This thought made him die with his eyes wide open. Lin Zichen looked at the 3-eyed giant who was dead on the ground and gave a very high evaluation. It is worthy of being a race known for its strong physical body. My hand hurts a little from the bombardment. Then, without wasting time, he immediately squatted down and touched the body of the three-eyed giant. With a puff, he inserted it into the position of its heart and took out a dark blue crystal. The blue crystal is only as big as a ping-pong ball. But it is filled with a huge amount of special energy. Is this the beast core? I don't know what resources it can be exchanged for. Lin Zichen looked at the blue crystal in his hand and murmured in a low voice. His understanding of the beast core is limited to the fact that the beast core is filled with a large amount of source power and that the beast core can be used to exchange for evolutionary resources in the city in the source. Besides that, he knows nothing. Looked at it for a while. Soon, Lin Zichen had an idea and put the beast core in his hand into the storage space. He planned to take it out and see what good things he could exchange for after entering the source. After putting away the beast core, Lin Zichen put his hand on the corpse of the three-eyed giant again, and thought, devour. You have devoured a large amount of the life source of the three-eyed demon clan / Chapter 227 The Charm of the Fox-Eared Girl. When the voice suddenly sounded, Lin Zichen was shocked. The voice was familiar. It was the voice of the fox-eared girl. It was the fox-eared girl who appeared in the coastal forest during the special training of the military area at the beginning of the year. While thinking, Lin Zichen quickly looked back in the direction of the voice. But he found that there was no one behind him, and there was no fox-eared girl. The voice just now. It seemed to be an auditory hallucination. No. It was not an auditory hallucination. Lin Zichen keenly smelled a very familiar breath in the air around him. It was a faint floral scent. This was the unique smell of the fox-eared girl. There was a sound and a smell. The fox-eared girl must be on the rooftop. Thinking of this, Lin Zichen was extremely alert, and his 5 senses were open, and he radiated his mental power to perceive the surroundings. However, he could not sense the existence of the fox-eared girl at all. Little bed slave, looking for me. Just when Lin Zichen was concentrating on sensing the surrounding environment, a soft and intoxicating voice, like a beautiful string sound in the forest, sounded softly behind him. The moment he heard the voice, Lin Zichen quickly looked back. Then he saw a fox-eared girl in a purple long skirt, sitting on the fence of the rooftop in a charming posture, revealing a pair of slender and straight calves and a pair of small and exquisite bare jade feet, which looked extremely tempting and full of reverie. You are still alive. Lin Zichen looked at the fox-eared girl and said with a frown. At the beginning of the year in the coastal forest, he punched the fox-eared girl and left her with only a tail that had lost its vitality. At that time, he felt strange and was not sure whether the fox-eared girl was dead or escaped. Now it can be confirmed that the fox-eared girl is indeed not dead. At that time, either the tail was broken and escaped, or the body that was blown up was not the body at all. Little bed slave, you really went too far that day. The fox-eared girl looked at Lin Zichen in front of her with resentment, and said angrily, I just want you to be my bed slave, but you want to kill me. Men are really ruthless. Lin Zichen did not respond to this, but he thought about it and silently turned the effect of higher spirit to the maximum, staring at the fox-eared girl intently. He knew very well that the fox-eared girl in front of him was very good at illusion. Before taking action, he must first make an accurate judgment to determine whether the fox-eared girl who appeared in front of him at this moment was a clone, an illusion, or the real body. However, after looking at it for a long time, he couldn't see anything. But he clearly felt the biological pressure of the other party. Very high. It is 1 level higher than when he met it in the coastal forest before. From the ordinary 9th level great perfection at that time to the advanced 9th level great perfection now. In response to this, Lin Zichen frowned. When facing an ordinary 9th level fox-eared girl, he had to use all his trump cards and barely won with great effort. Now, the difficulty has been directly increased to the advanced 9th level fox-eared girl, which is really despairing. Why don't you say anything or take action? The fox-eared girl seemed to be able to see through the hearts of others at a glance, and smiled playfully, are you afraid of the powerful pressure emanating from me? Lin Zichen was puzzled, there are so many extraordinary geniuses in the source land, why do you have to choose me, an earthling with no advantages, as a bed slave? The fox-eared girl smiled charmingly, because I like earthmen. After speaking, she lifted her hair in front of her forehead, looked directly into Lin Zichen's eyes and said, little bed slave, you haven't answered my question just now, why do you have storage methods and can also devour the origin of life? The origin of life. After coming to this world for so many years, it is the first time that Lin Zichen has heard these 4 words from someone else. He did not answer the fox-eared girl's question, but asked back, what is the origin of life? The fox-eared girl couldn't help but complain with a surprised look on her face, the origin of life is the origin of life, what kind of foolish question is this? Lin Zichen's question sounded like asking why is my mother a woman and my father a man in her ears, which was very confusing. Little bed slave, 3 times is the limit. I have asked you twice, why do you have storage methods and can devour the origin of life? This is the 3rd time, you should answer my question. The fox-eared girl put away the expression on her face and said in a serious and solemn tone. Lin Zichen, there is no reason. Having storage methods and being able to devour the origin of life are both my innate abilities. Born. The fox-eared girl felt unbelievable and couldn't help asking this question, are you really from Earth? Lin Zichen, yes, from Earth. At this moment, he was very relaxed. Unlike the last time in the coastal forest, he was nervous when facing the fox-eared girl. Because he found that the fox-eared girl didn't seem to have any ill will towards him. She really just wanted to take him back to the source to be a bed slave. As long as his life is not endangered, everything is fine. Of course, the human trader organization Shenzi cult is an exception. After hearing Lin Zichen's answer, the fox-eared girl raised her eyebrows. Then she smiled and said, little bed slave, I suspect you are lying to me, but I have no evidence. So, I will be foolish for once and choose to believe you. I hope you will not let down your future master's trust in you, otherwise, your future master will give you little shoes to wear in the future. As she spoke, the fox-eared girl's eyes were filled with captivating beauty, and her charming voice said, little bed slave, I can sense that your strength has become much stronger than last time. I don't know, can you resist my natal magical power charm? The moment she finished speaking, the fox-eared girl slightly pursed her red and attractive lips, raised her slender white hands to her lips, made a sound of muah, and blew a kiss to Lin Zichen with charming eyes. The next second, a purple heart-shaped aerosol as big as a cherry appeared out of thin air from between the fox-eared girl's lips and jade hands. As soon as the purple love formed, it immediately floated leisurely towards Lin Zichen. Lin Zichen wanted to hide, but found that his body could not move. He was suppressed by the spirit of the fox-eared girl. The brain loses control of the body. I could only watch as the love slowly floated towards me and was accurately printed on my lips. Then, there was a warm and moist feeling on the lips. There was just this feeling of dampness and heat. Other than that, there is no other feeling. Fell into my charm, from this moment on, you will slowly start to care about me, admire me, and be obsessed with me, until you only have me in your eyes and can no longer tolerate other women. The fox-eared girl walked up to Lin Zichen, stretched out her slender green-white index finger and put it against his lips, with a playful smile on her pretty face. She moved closer, put her red lips against Lin Zichen's ear, and said softly like she was blowing air, soon, Shanghai City will be occupied by the Shenzi cult, and then the entire Shanghai City will be filled with strange beasts. During this period, I will quietly be your audience and observe your performance in the beast tide. Little bed slave, I hope you can perform to my satisfaction. After saying this last sentence, her figure began to become blurry and dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye. Just when she disappeared until only her face remained. She lightly opened her red lips and added, by the way, your future master's surname is Su and his first name is Jeju. Remember it well. When these words fell, her figure had completely disappeared. Instead, the word Su Jeju slowly appeared where she disappeared. At the same time, Lin Zichen found that he could move. He had no time to care about the fox-eared girl's name. He only cared about whether any bad changes had happened to his body after he had just been exposed to the charm spell. Carefully. Inside and outside. No part was spared. All checked. Finally came to the conclusion that there was nothing abnormal about the body. Lin Zichen frowned. Although he didn't feel anything strange in his body now, the words of the fox-eared girl Su Jeju made him feel very uneasy. From now on, I will only have eyes for her and no room for other women. When the pavilion master comes back, I have to ask her to help check her body. Lin Zichen murmured to himself, and his frown relaxed slightly. But soon, his brows furrowed again. Before Su Jeju disappeared, he said that Shanghai City would soon be occupied by the Shenzi cult, and then the entire Shanghai City would be filled with strange beasts. If this were true, it would be terrible. You experienced a rat plague and successfully survived the rat plague. Achievement, successfully survived 100 times in different extremely harsh environments or disasters / Chapter 228 The strange beasts come out in droves. Everyone is a bird in a cage. You guys can share this giant alien rat. I won't. Ah? This is the prey you killed. Are you going to share it all with us? Yes, I killed it, but it's not my prey. After saying this, Lin Zichen turned and walked towards Shen Qinghan to see how He Yu's injury was. The injury has basically stabilized. It's just that broken arm, I'm afraid it won't come back. In the future, he can only be a one-armed man. As for becoming a mechanically modified person, the risk is too high. The genetic structure of the gene fusion body is very complex and the rejection is extremely strong. The risk of mechanical modification is too high. It's basically not worth the loss. Zichen, I really envy you for being so strong. If I can be as strong as you, I won't be afraid of being bitten by a mere ordinary giant alien rat. Weakness is the original sin. He Yu looked at Lin Zichen in front of him and laughed at himself with a wry smile. When he was in high school, he often pretended to be cool in front of Lin Zichen, always thinking about how to show off his awesomeness inadvertently. Unexpectedly, only 4 years later, the gap between them is already huge. One is the #1 student in Shaanxi University. The biological level of the other has just reached the ordinary 5th level. It's really sad. Lin Zichen knew that He was making fun of himself, so he didn't agree with him. He just said calmly, "Don't think too much, take good care of your injuries, and when this is over, our group of 4 will have a meal together." Soon, He, who had treated his wounds urgently, was taken away by the field doctor. Lin Zichen didn't stay for long, turned around and left with Shen Qinghan to sweep the giant rats. As the two went deeper into the direction of the scarlet giant tree, the scenes they saw along the way became more and more bloody. There were many people lying on the ground. They were all incomplete corpses. There were many familiar faces among them. There was an opponent I met in the 8 Schools League when I was in the 1st grade of junior high school, Gao Fei. Gao Fei was a genius student in the junior high school of Shanghai #1 middle school. He could sprint 100 meters in just 9 seconds. He went to Shanghai University and was a junior in the Evolution College. Now, his body was eaten by giant alien rats, leaving only the upper body, and his life was forever left on the battlefield. There was also Huang Jiamin, who had cheated on her boyfriend 9 times, a senior who liked to bully freshmen by relying on her status as an old student, and then was beaten up by Lin Zichen to impose justice on her. This senior now only had a head on the ground, and her body was eaten by giant alien rats. Next to her head, her brother Huang Jiarui knelt on the ground and cried bitterly, while her ex-boyfriend Yan Liang, who had been cheated on by her 9 times, stood silently, with mixed feelings for a while. In addition to these 2 people, there was also Lu Qizi, a freshman in the genius class, the strongest college entrance examination champion in the history of Yuntian province, who also died tragically in the mouth of a giant alien rat. There is also Zhu Shishi from the Mecha group, a female mechanical cyborg who participated in the military special training with Lin Zichen, and also died on this battlefield. There is also Wu Tiancheng, a mentor of the Evolution College of Shanghai University, who is the strongest person in the history of Shanghai Middle School. He also died at this moment, dying in the mouth of a giant alien rat with a body length of more than 10 meters. When he was cut out of the rat's belly, he had been corroded beyond recognition and died in a very miserable way. Lin Zichen was very surprised to see Wu Tiancheng's body. This mentor Wu is a high-level creature. He actually died in the belly of a giant alien rat. It's a bit unbelievable. On the other side, Shen Qinghan saw so many people died tragically, and the expression on her pretty face was not good. She thought there would be a large number of casualties. But when she saw it with her own eyes, the visual impact was still too great. It was hard to accept it deep in her heart for a while. Lin Ziai, so many people died. Shen Qinghan whispered, feeling very uncomfortable. Lin Zichen was upset, but he remained calm on the surface and said, "This is unavoidable, just get used to it." As soon as he finished speaking, a familiar figure came over. It was the former student union president, Zhou Suihong. At this time, his body was covered with scars, some of which had healed, while others were still bleeding. It was obvious that the fierce battle had just ended not long ago. Lin Zichen, looking at the corpses all around, "Can you understand why I want to make the school an environment where the strong prey on the weak?" Zhou Suihong panted and looked at Lin Zichen sharply and said. Before Lin Zichen could answer, he continued to talk to himself, "Because the disaster is cruel and the environment is extremely bad. If you don't take advantage of the 4 years of college to endure hardships and cultivate a firm will, then going to the battlefield after graduation is almost equivalent to going to the execution ground, and you will almost certainly die." Zhou Suihong continued, "In today's rat plague, many people don't have to die at all. It's because their psychological quality is too poor. When they see the dense swarm of rats, their legs are weak and they can't exert their due strength, which leads to their own death. And this is just a rat plague that happened on Earth, a trivial rat plague. If it were placed in the source, the beast tide we face would only be 100 times, 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times more cruel than now. And you who have never entered the source to resist the beast tide, you don't know anything. You only know how to be young and frivolous, and only know how to show off in front of your peers to satisfy your insignificant vanity." By the end, Zhou Suihong's voice had become louder and full of accusations. Zhou Suihong knew that his strength was not as good as Lin Zichen's. However, he will still adhere to the concepts that should be adhered to. He wanted to use today's situation to leave Lin Zichen with nowhere to refute and prove that his approach was right. Faced with these aggressive words, Lin Zichen just said calmly, "You can't temper your will like that. Your methods will only push people into the embrace of paganism." "Ha, you have such a tough mouth." Zhou Suihong sneered. The words just fell. Suddenly, there was a bang sound. Zhou Suihong, who was still standing one moment, fell heavily to the ground the next moment. He pressed his face tightly to the ground, unable to move. The sudden biological pressure pressed Zhou Suihong to the ground from top to bottom. It was so heavy that he could hardly breathe, and his face turned red. With your strength, where do you get the confidence to jump up and down in front of me? Lin Zichen looked down at Zhou Suihong on the ground and said to him expressionlessly. Vice President Tan Wanyi is not far away. Seeing that the two of them had started to fight for some reason, she quickly came over to persuade them, you two, don't be like this. The situation is special now. If there are any conflicts, it's not too late to resolve them after the matter is over. Lin Zichen didn't even look at Tan Wanyi, but looked at Zhou Suihong indifferently and said, next time, be prepared to stay in the hospital for half a year. Leave such a sentence behind. Lin Zichen withdrew the biological pressure released and continued walking deeper with Shen Qinghan. He didn't know whether Zhou Suihong was a bad person or not. All he knew was that he did not agree with the philosophy this man upheld at all. As time passes by. About an hour later. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. The giant alien rats had been killed and their army was in disarray. Only a small number were left hiding in the surrounding ruins, not daring to come out at all. The human side, which had won a great victory, began to clean up the battlefield and count casualties. A small group of people escorted several xenophysicists to the giant scarlet tree to find out. Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan were also members of the escort team. In addition to this pair of prospective couples with advanced biological levels, Lu Juanmu, Song Yuan and other people with slightly lower biological levels are also there. Sister Yan, is the injury on your hand okay? Shen Qinghan looked at Song Yuan's injured arm and said in a worried voice. Song Yuan waved her arm and said with a relaxed look, it's okay, it's just a minor injury. It will be fine in a few days. After saying that, she turned worried and said, Wei Wei was seriously injured in this rat plague. She was bitten on the waist and abdomen by a giant alien rat. The wound looks very infected. I hope she is okay. While the two of them were talking, Lin Zichen was silent. At this moment, he was thinking about the three-eyed demon he met earlier. Several hours have passed since the scarlet giant tree appeared. During this period, apart from a large number of giant alien rats that gnawed on anything they saw, there was only one three-eyed demon that appeared. This was the second time he had seen such a humanoid origin creature. The first time I met was the fox-eared girl Sujuju. He is very interested in this kind of humanoid origin creature that can speak human words. In other words, very vigilant. Whether it is Sujuju or the three-eyed demon clan, the strength displayed far exceeds that of non-humanoid origin creatures, and they are a great threat. Not long after, the group of people arrived near the giant scarlet tree. Looking at this towering plant with a height of 1,000 meters and stretching as far as the eye can see, everyone felt very shocked. Such a tall plant was completely beyond their knowledge. You guys are responsible for accompanying a few professors to study the strange plant. The rest of you will follow me to explore the cave. A male cybernetic whose body was covered with alloy, his voice was somewhat magnetic. He is a senior officer at the military district headquarters. Personal strength is infinitely approaching the rare level. It can be said that he is the strongest among all the people present. At least that's the case on the surface. Under his leadership, except for the dozen or so people who went to study the giant scarlet tree, the rest followed to explore the cave. It was said to be exploring, but in fact it was just standing around the cave and watching the mechanical transformation of people releasing exploration robots into the cave. Then they all stood still, staring at the shared images projected by the mechanically transformed people. God, look at me! Lu Qingyu took the initiative to walk up to Lin Zichen and enthusiastically shared with him the exploration scenes of the exploration robot he controlled. Lu Juanmu and Song Yuan were surprised when they heard the word male god. This girl, a mechanical genius who looks extremely cold on the outside, actually calls Lin Zichen a male god in public? Zichen is so charming. Lu Juanmu and Song Yuan sighed in their hearts at the same time. Lin Zichen, who was the object of emotion, was staring intently at the shared screen projected by Lu Qingyu, for fear of missing any detail. The cave is very large, with a diameter of more than 10 meters by visual inspection. It's also very deep. The exploration robot has penetrated thousands of meters and still has not reached the bottom. So deep. Shen Qinghan on the side couldn't help but sigh. Lu Qingyu also said, it's strange. It's obviously thousands of meters deep, but the temperature detected is the same as the normal temperature on the ground. Lin Zichen didn't say anything, staring at the shared screen, observing the cave in the screen. Focus on the cave wall. He found that the cave wall was very unnatural, and it was covered with plant roots that reinforced the cave. The roots grew very regularly, one after another, like a net. In addition, there were a large number of dark blue crystals inlaid on the cave wall. These dark blue crystals hidden under the plant roots emit wisps of mist that are invisible to the naked eye at all times. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be these dark blue crystals that can keep the bottomless cave at a constant temperature. Such magical crystals can be used as air conditioners. I don't know if they are evolutionary resources. Lin Zichen murmured in his heart, and thought about the dark blue crystals deep in the cave. No, it's too deep. The depth of this cave has far exceeded the detection range of the robot, and the detection cannot continue. LV King Ye frowned slightly and said. The other mechanical modified people around were the same without exception. These caves that suddenly appeared on the ground were incredibly deep and could not be explored at all. Professor Gao, how is your research going? The senior officer at the military headquarters gave up exploring the caves and turned to look at an old man who was studying the scarlet giant tree in front and asked. Professor Gao shook his head and sighed, the research is not very good. This alien plant is too strange. I have never seen this scarlet alien plant that can grow to 1,000 meters high, and I have never seen anything similar. Hearing this answer, everyone present was a little at a loss for a while. The cave cannot be explored. The scarlet giant tree can't be studied. The rat plague has also been dealt with. Suddenly, it seems that there is nothing to do. In response, someone suggested, why don't we withdraw first? Anyway, the people here have been evacuated safely. Someone responded, I also think it's better to withdraw first, temporarily close this place, and let the strong people deal with it when they come back. Senior officer, that's the only way. After some discussion, everyone present felt that it was better to withdraw first, and there was no need to stay and increase the risk. After all, everyone's strength is not high, not even a rare level strongman. There is nothing to do if you stay. It is better to leave early. Wait for the strong men to come back and solve the problems here. However, just as everyone was about to leave, the calm ground suddenly made a huge noise. Boom! Accompanied by this sound. The next second, nearly 10,000 meters away from the towering tree, countless thick scarlet vines suddenly broke out of the ground and rushed into the sky at a high speed. These thick scarlet vines entangled with each other, surrounding the 10-mile radius centered on the scarlet giant tree, forming an airtight giant tree cage. Before everyone could react to what happened, suddenly, there was a violent vibration from the surrounding caves. Then, a large number of strange-shaped source creatures rushed out from inside, as emotional as wild beasts just out of the cage, and immediately killed everyone. Run! The senior officer shouted very quickly. Then, without saying anything, he immediately activated the anti-airflow power device and flew hundreds of meters away with a hum. He instantly distanced himself from the others and ran faster than a rabbit. Lin Zichen's reaction was faster than his. Before he shouted run, Lin Zichen had already held Shen Qinghan in his left hand and Song Yuan in his right hand. His body instantly turned into a residual image and rushed thousands of meters away in the blink of an eye. As for Lu Juanwu, Lin Zichen felt that this old and strong Dean would definitely be able to run away on his own, and he didn't need him to hold him and run together. P.S. Put the bowl on the table, and ask for monthly tickets and recommendation tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 229, Pure-blooded humans kill everyone together. Hydra, Red Flame Ant, Demon Eye Giant Ape, Armored Earth Dragon, Shadow Night Cat, Bloodthirsty Demon Eagle. In an instant, a large number of high-level beasts emerged from the bottomless black cave in groups, rushing towards the people in the tree cage with violent eyes. The speed of the beasts was very fast, and they caught up with the fleeing people in an instant. Several people who were slower and behind were unfortunately drowned in the beasts. They only made a few unwilling screams and then completely stopped moving, becoming food for the beasts. Lin Zichen, who was escaping in the front, felt that the people behind were constantly being torn apart by the beasts. With a ruthless heart, he made the decision to stay behind and save people. Han In, Sister Yan, you run, I'll go to the back of the team to save people and we'll be back soon. After saying this, Lin Zichen let go of Shen Qinghan and Song Yuan in his arms. Then he exerted force on his feet, and the whole person turned into a residual shadow and rushed to the back. The back of the fleeing group. The Shan University students, who were low in biological level and slow in running, were being knocked to the ground by the beasts that chased them, and then they were bitten madly, blood splattered all over the ground, and turned into a dead body on the spot. I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Save me, please save me, don't leave me. This damn beast. Fight. Kill one to break even. Kill two to make a big profit. Some of the people at the back of the team cried and shouted for help from the people in front, and some knew that there was no hope of escape and chose to turn around and kill the beasts. Among them, Ma Ziwei, who was seriously injured in the waist and abdomen, knew that he could not escape, so he decisively turned around and rushed to the beasts that were constantly approaching behind him, wanting to die with more dignity. Sister Wei, what are you doing? Ziwei, come back. Seeing Ma Ziwei suddenly turn around and rush to the beasts, Li Moyu and Luo Yongjian shouted anxiously. Ma Ziwei had no intention of stopping, and said firmly, I have a serious injury in my waist and abdomen, and I can't run for long. I will cover your rear. Fuck you. Li Moyu cursed loudly, turned around and chased Ma Ziwei at a high speed, trying to stop her from rushing into the beast herd and dying in vain. Luo Yongjian hesitated, but gritted his teeth and finally chased after her. Either live together or die together, never be a coward. Buzz. There was a sound of breaking through the air. A high-level shadow nightcat rushed to Ma Ziwei at a speed that was difficult to capture with the naked eye, and raised its claws and swung at her throat. Ma Ziwei was much slower than this shadow nightcat. But she had a good understanding of the shadow nightcat, a strange beast, and made a prediction in advance. As early as when the shadow nightcat started, she had already taken a posture for easy dodging. At this moment, when the cat's claws attacked, she just retreated a little and successfully avoided this fatal blow. At the same time, he swung the two swords in his hands and stabbed the heart of the night shadow cat with great force. The attributes of the night shadow cat are extremely fast, ordinary attack, and extremely low defense. Therefore, even if the biological level of the night shadow cat in front of him is high, as long as he can accurately hit its vital points, he will have a chance to injure it severely or even kill it. Puff. Puff. Two dull sounds were heard. The two swords in Ma Ziwei's hands accurately stabbed into the heart of the night shadow cat. In an instant, the salty cat blood spurted out like a burst faucet, splashing all over Ma Ziwei's face. Ma Ziwei let the cat blood splash on his face, and quickly pulled out the two swords and stabbed them again, not giving the night shadow cat a chance to breathe. However, just after stabbing twice, the night shadow cat swept his arm with a claw, and the skin and flesh were immediately torn, revealing the white bones, and the two swords in his hand fell to the ground in pain. Advanced creatures are advanced creatures. Even if the defensive attributes of their races are low, they are not something that an ordinary creature like Ma Ziwei can mess with. Buzz. After the shadow nightcat succeeded in its attack, it immediately swung its claws again, aiming directly at Ma Ziwei's neck, wanting to chop off her head with one claw. Ma Ziwei wanted to hide, but she couldn't hide at all because of the serious injuries in her waist and abdomen. Just when she was ready to die, a long sword burst out from behind, passed through her shoulder, and shot into the shadow nightcat's head with a puff, piercing its entire head and splashing a large amount of blood. Ma Ziwei recognized the long sword, which was the one that Luo Yongjian often carried on his back. Buzz. Another sound of breaking through the air sounded. Li Moyu's figure was like a residual image, rushing out from Ma Ziwei's side at a very fast speed, swinging the spiked mace in his hand, aiming at the seriously injured shadow nightcat and smashing it hard. Bang! 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 Accompanied by this burst of smashing sounds, the head of the high-level shadow nightcat was smashed to pieces, and it lost all its vitality and died. We actually killed a high-level beast. Li Moyu looked at the corpse of the high-level shadow nightcat on the ground, with a faint expression on his face, feeling incredible. Luo Yongjian didn't have as many feelings as him. He stepped forward and pulled out the long sword from the corpse of the shadow nightcat, and turned around and ran without saying a word. Li Moyu didn't dare to stay when he saw this. He quickly took out the beast core from the corpse of the high-level shadow nightcat, and then ran away with Luo Yongjian. There were still a lot of beasts chasing behind. If they didn't run, they would be drowned in the herd and torn into pieces. Sister Wei, run! Seeing that Ma Ziwei was still standing there, Luo Yongjian shouted anxiously. Ma Ziwei shook her head with a pale face and said, "Run quickly, don't worry about me. I've lost too much blood and can't run away. Let's run together." Li Moyu ran back and wanted to pick up Ma Ziwei and run with her. But before he ran to Ma Ziwei, a 10-meter-wide bloodthirsty demon eagle suddenly appeared in the sky, and its huge wings flicked and shot out flying feathers all over the sky. Puff! 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 There was only a dull sound. Ma Ziwei, Li Moyu, and Luo Yongjian, all three of them were pierced by the feathers that burst out, and the whole person was nailed to the ground and couldn't move. Blood kept pouring out of their bodies, soaking their clothes in an instant, and they were seriously injured. Especially Ma Ziwei, whose heart was pierced, and blood kept flowing out. Her pretty face was pale, and it looked like she wouldn't live long. Buzz! The bloodthirsty demon eagle cut through the air and swooped down at Ma Ziwei on the ground at the fastest speed, trying to grab this delicate-looking human and devour her flesh and blood. Looking at the bloodthirsty demon eagle flying at her, Ma Ziwei closed her eyes resignedly and waited quietly for death to come. Bang! 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 Just as Ma Ziwei closed her eyes, the sound of hard objects breaking out of the ground came into her ears one after another. Then, a scream full of struggle sounded. It was not a human cry. It was an eagle's cry. The bloodthirsty demon eagle's eagle. Ma Ziwei opened her eyes in confusion. The scene that immediately came into her eyes was that the 10-meter-wide bloodthirsty demon eagle was somehow tightly entangled by dozens of vines. It could not move. It could only open its beak and cry desperately. Then, the vines suddenly tightened, strangling the huge bloodthirsty demon eagle to death, and turned into a bloody rain that dripped down from the sky. Looking at the scene in front of her, Ma Ziwei was stunned. The vines actually killed the bloodthirsty demon eagle? Aren't they in the same group? What's going on? Ma Ziwei's eyes were full of confusion, and she couldn't figure out what was going on in front of her. She just felt that her vision was getting blurrier and blurrier. She felt like she was going to lose consciousness. She knew that she was losing too much blood and was going to die. Just when her eyelids were so heavy that they were about to close, a bright red pill shot from the side and shot into her mouth accurately. The pill melted in her mouth and quickly turned into strands of warm currents that flowed into her internal organs, healing her injuries while replenishing her blood and qi. Just a moment later, she, who was about to faint, regained consciousness. She cleared the feathers stuck in her body and stood up from the ground. Then he was shocked to find that wherever he looked, there were vines rising into the sky, strange beasts entangled by vines, and desperate roars of beasts everywhere. Hey? Why is he there? Ma Ziwei saw Lin Zichen's figure in the center of the vines in front. He also saw that the vines only attacked the strange beasts, and had no aggression towards Lin Zichen in the center, turning a blind eye. Ma Ziwei was puzzled by this. Li Moyu and Luo Yongjian, who were not far away, were also puzzled. No matter what, the three of them would not think that it was Lin Zichen who controlled the vines. Lin Zichen was a pure-blooded human, not a traitor of the divine plant cult. How could he control the vines? In the cognition of the three people, this was obviously impossible. Seeing that the three were still standing there, Lin Zichen said to them calmly, "What are you three still doing? Leave quickly and don't bother me." As soon as he finished speaking, he had an idea and suddenly tightened the vines wrapped around the strange beasts. The next second, all the beasts entangled by the vines exploded, turning into blood all over the sky, dyeing the whole land red. These vines are controlled by Zichen. At this moment, whether it was Li Moyu, Ma Ziwei, or Luo Yongjian, they all had doubts on their faces and couldn't believe what they saw. Why can Lin Zichen, a pure-blooded human, control vines like a divine plant to teach people to be treacherous? Is this a dream? Or is it an illusion? The three people's eyes were full of confusion and their hearts were full of doubts. The cognition they had lived for nearly 20 years was ruthlessly shattered to the ground, and they couldn't understand the scene in front of them. Seeing that the three people didn't leave, Lin Zichen didn't bother to persuade them. He just had an idea and controlled 3 vines to wrap around the waists of the 3 people, and suddenly threw the 3 people out. Immediately, he had another idea: devour. In an instant, a large number of text prompts flashed through the void. You devoured a large amount of the life essence of the bloodthirsty demon eagle /. Chapter 230. The source land was turned upside down. Dozens of legendary masters came to encircle and. When Sujuju's voice sounded, Lin Zichen immediately looked at the traffic light. Looking at Sujuju standing on the red light, he frowned and said, "Are you controlling the herd? It has nothing to do with me. The herd is controlled by the great elder of the divine plant religion." Sujuju smiled and said, "However, I can easily control these herds of beasts and make them stand there motionless, just like now." After the words fell, a purple light flashed across her soul-stirring eyes. The next second, all the giant centipedes around, as well as other strange beasts that followed one after another, all froze in place in an instant. It was like a stone sculpture, motionless. After witnessing this scene, everyone present had an unbelievable look on their faces. So strong. That fox girl with 9 tails is so strong. Is this the creature from the source? Compared with the people on Earth, this is a complete dimensionality reduction attack. When they thought of this, everyone present felt a deep sense of powerlessness in their hearts. And, a growing sense of despair. The creatures on Earth and the creatures in the source land are not at the same level at all. How can they resist in the future? Unlike others. At this moment, Lin Zichen did not feel powerless or desperate. Instead, he calmly sensed the surroundings, looking for the possibility of breaking the situation. However, no matter how he looked, he could not find a trace of the possibility of breaking the situation. The gap in strength is too big. It is so big that it cannot be solved by thinking of a way. Or the time for evolution is too short and the resources for evolution are too few. If he had the same level of evolutionary resources as the source land, or if he had a few more years of evolution and development, he would not be in a dead end at all. What giant centipede, what 9-tailed demon fox, can all be killed with one punch? Lin Zichen thought unwillingly in his heart. Little bed slave. Come with me and live. If you don't come with me, you'll be half dead, and then I'll take you away. What do you want to choose? Sujuju's beautiful purple eyes looked straight at Lin Zichen below, full of desire for his explosive body. Shen Qinghan immediately held Lin Zichen's hand tightly when she saw this, her pretty face full of uneasiness. She didn't want Lin Zichen to leave. Lin Zichen was still thinking about whether there was a better choice than leaving with Sujuju. Sujuju didn't have the patience to wait for him to think. Seeing that he didn't answer immediately, he immediately thought of generating a teleportation array under Shen Qinghan's feet, teleporting her in front of him, and suppressing her with mental power, making her unable to move. Little bed slave, you don't want to go with me, because you can't bear to leave her? Su Juju asked casually while seriously looking at Shen Qinghan in front of him. She hadn't paid much attention to Shen Qinghan before, but now she took a closer look and realized that this insignificant rival was extremely beautiful, and was no less beautiful than herself as a nine-tailed fox demon. Don't hurt her, I can accept any request you make. Seeing Shen Qinghan being controlled by Su Juju, Lin Zichen immediately shouted to Su Juju. Su Juju stroked Shen Qinghan's pretty face and smiled, I won't hurt her. I just want to take you back to be a bed slave, not to make an enemy with you. I will take her away with me, so that you won't be separated and suffer from love sickness. Then you will be my bed slave and she will be my maid, and you will serve me in bed together. Su Juju was serious. She thought that when she and Lin Zichen were dying in bed in the future, she would let Shen Qinghan help her. The nine-tailed fox demon was born to like to snatch men from other women, and then there was a woman in front of him, and the main goal was to kill people and destroy their hearts. Seeing that Su Juju said that she would not hurt Shen Qinghan and would take her into the source, Lin Zichen could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Then, he said to Su Juju, she and I will go into the source with you. Considering my cooperation, can you satisfy a small request of mine? Tell me about it. Su Juju said in a delicate voice. Lin Zichen, can we teleport all these people out of the tree cage? He knew very well that if he and Shen Qinghan went with Su Juju, the others present would soon be overwhelmed by the beasts and become food for the beasts. Su Juju was about to say yes. But before he could speak, an old voice came from the sky, no. Everyone looked up and saw a masked man quietly hovering in the sky, looking down at everything below. Lin Zichen looked at the mask the masked man was wearing for the first time. When he saw a four-leaf clover logo engraved on the mask, his expression suddenly became solemn. Four-leaf clover mask. It is an epic-level strongman in the Shenzi sect. Grand Elder, you won't even do such a small favor. Su Juju looked up at the Grand Elder of the Shenzi sect in the sky and said with some displeasure. The Grand Elder of the Shenzi sect, who was leaning on a cane, smiled and said, then why don't you do a favor for my Shenzi sect? Hearing this, Su Juju frowned slightly. In the past, the Grand Elder of the Shenzi sect was respectful when he saw her, and he would respond to her every request, calling her a fairy, fearing that he would neglect her. But now his voice is cold and disrespectful. The difference between before and after is too big. Su Juju realized that something was wrong, and his eyes turned cold and asked, Grand Elder, what do you mean by this? It means literally. The Elder said coldly, do me a favor for the Divine Plant Sect and hand over Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan to me. The Divine Plant Sect now not only has its eyes on Lin Zichen, but also on Shen Qinghan. After investigation and observation some time ago, the Divine Plant Sect found that Shen Qinghan's physique is also very special, and his potential seems to be no worse than Lin Zichen. It has great assimilation value. Great Elder, I think you are old and confused. You even dare to snatch the man I like. Su Juju's expression became extremely unfriendly, and there was a hint of threat in his words. Do you want to go against King Kaiu Ancient Mountain in the Divine Plant Sect? The Elder of the Divine Plant Sect smiled and said, no, you misunderstood. The Divine Plant Sect dare not go against King Kaiu Ancient Mountain. It is the Sun and Moon Holy Land behind the Divine Plant Sect that wants to go against King Kaiu Ancient Mountain. Su Juju frowned after hearing this. The Great Elder of the Divine Plant Sect continued, strictly speaking, we are not going to fight against your King Kaiu Ancient Mountain, but to start a full-scale war. What? Su Juju opened her beautiful eyes wide, thinking that she had heard it wrong. The Great Elder of the Divine Plant Sect did not waste any more words, and directly controlled a large number of scarlet vines to shoot towards Su Juju and attacked her. Su Juju's face changed drastically. She did not expect that the Great Elder of the Divine Plant Sect would dare to attack her. Without thinking too much, she immediately generated a magic circle under her feet to teleport away, and at the same time, her spirit burst out, trying to control the Great Elder of the Divine Plant Sect. However, she is now just a clone, and her biological level is only advanced 9th level. No matter how powerful her spiritual means are, they cannot be effective against the Great Elder of the Divine Plant Sect, whose biological level is as high as epic level. When the mental attack cannot be effective and the physical strength is very different. In just half a minute, Su Juju was entangled by dozens of scarlet vines all over her body, and the whole person was tied up and hung in the air, becoming a lamb to be slaughtered. Seeing this, Lin Zichen immediately used higher spirit to strengthen his mental power, and then used Lord of the Forest to control the vines to untie Su Juju. However, because his mental strength was far inferior to that of the Great Elder of the Divine Plant Sect, no matter how he exerted mental control, the scarlet vines wrapped around Su Juju did not loosen at all. No, the gap is too big. We have to think of other ways. Lin Zichen's brain was spinning at high speed, thinking about how to help Su Juju. In this situation, only by helping Su Juju out of trouble and giving Su Juju the opportunity to use the teleportation array to take people away, Can he and Shen Qinghan successfully escape the clutches of the Great Elder of the Divine Plant Sect? Unfortunately, the Great Elder of the Divine Plant Sect did not give Lin Zichen a chance to think. A hoarse-old voice sounded. Fox Fairy, goodbye. The next second, the Great Elder of the Divine Plant Sect suddenly tightened the vines, strangling the delicate Sujuju on the spot, turning into white hair all over the sky and falling with the wind, leaving only a foxtail that had lost its vitality, lying quietly on the traffic light without any movement. Source: King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain. An ancient and quaint room. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of Sujuju's mouth, her pretty face was a little pale, her eyebrows were tightly wrinkled, and she looked very painful. The loss of a high-level 9th level clone was a bit of a backlash. Swallowed a healing pill. Slightly slowed down. Sujuju thought, and a teleportation array was generated under his feet, teleporting himself to a magnificent palace. Juju, you are in such a hurry, is there something important? On the main seat of the palace, a beautiful woman in palace dress with 9 tails behind her asked softly with charming eyes. She is the owner of King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain and also the elder sister of Sujuju's mother. Auntie, Sun Moon Holy Land said that it wants to go to war with our King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain. Sujuju said to the beautiful woman in palace dress directly without any nonsense. After hearing Sujuju's words, the beautiful woman in palace dress, that is, the owner of the mountain, So Kinga, looked solemn in an instant and asked, "Where did you know about this?" Sujuju organized her words a little, and then briefly told So Kinga about her experience on Earth. After hearing this, So Kinga frowned and couldn't relax. Auntie, how dare the Sun Moon Holy Land go to war with our King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain? Where do they get their confidence? Sujuju said puzzledly. The strength of King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain is not strong, but it has many connections behind it, and it has a close to negative distance relationship with many major forces in the source. Many high-level officials of major forces are lovers of the fox girls of King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain, and they will come to King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain regularly to find their lovers for dual cultivation. It can be said that King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain is the daughter country in the source. Or to be more precise, it is the top luxury club in the source, and the gentle hometown of every male creature in the source. For such a place, it stands to reason that no force should dare to attack it. Because once it attacks, it will inevitably be opposed by other forces. Sujuju was puzzled by this. On the other hand, So Kinga, who has lived for thousands of years and is knowledgeable, fell into a period of thought. She thought a lot, and thought of a very bad possibility in her mind. The ancestor of the Sun and Moon Holy Land may have revived. Otherwise, the Sun and Moon Holy Land would not dare to attack King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain. The purpose of the attack was probably to monopolize the entire King Kaiyu Fox clan and train all the fox girls into exclusive bed slaves, which would only be used by the creatures of the Sun and Moon Holy Land for dual cultivation. Many forces in the Source Land had thought about doing this. But because he was not strong enough to defeat the heroes, he never took action. And if the prehistoric ancestors of the Sun and Moon Holy Land really revived, then the Sun and Moon Holy Land would have the strength to overwhelm all heroes, and it would not be difficult to capture King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain. The more So Kinga thought about it, the more he felt something was wrong. He quickly summoned the extremely beautiful fox girls in the mountains and asked them to contact their lovers and spread the news that the Holy Land of the Sun and Moon was about to attack King Kaiyu. Mountain Master, something big happened. Suddenly, a maid hurried into the palace and shouted to So Kinga. So Kinga frowned, "Why are you so anxious?" She felt uneasy, worried that someone from the Sun and Moon Holy Land was coming. The maid excitedly reported, "The herds of beasts attacking the Earth stronghold in the southern region were all refined by a mysterious woman wearing Taoist robes." Refined? So Kinga felt a little confused. The maid slowed down, her voice became much calmer, and she explained, "I don't know who the Taoist woman is. She is extremely powerful. She can instantly kill a large group of epic beasts with one strike, and then refine the corpses of the beasts into elixir." So Kinga was full of doubts after hearing this. Kill a large herd of epic beasts in an instant? Refining the corpses of beasts into elixirs? Is there such a number one person in the origin? The maid continued, "Now all the major forces in the southern region have urgently sent legendary powerhouses to encircle and suppress the woman in Taoist robes. The momentum is extremely huge. How's the siege going?" So Kinga asked quickly, eager to know the answer. The maid said, "Mountain Master, you may not believe it, but the woman in Taoist robes escaped easily under the encirclement and suppression of dozens of legendary powerhouses." So Kinga, escaped easily? Yes, I escaped easily. After the maid finished speaking, she added, "That woman in Taoist robes was very strange. When she was escaping, she never took any action to delay the pursuit. She just focused on escaping. It's very unreasonable." After hearing what the maid said, So Kinga didn't understand. Normally, when escaping, they will attack their pursuers to increase their chances of escaping. This method of escaping, which only focuses on escaping without attacking the pursuer, is extremely unreasonable. Earth. Shanghai City Center. Inside the tree cage. After the great elder of Shenzi sect killed Su Juju's clone, he turned his attention to Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan, and said in a hoarse voice, "Both of you, come with me." As soon as the words fell, 2 scarlet vines shot towards Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan, binding them tightly. The great elder of the Shenzi sect wants to take this pair of childhood sweethearts into the Source Land and send them to the Holy Land of the Sun and the Moon for a mission. Neither Lin Zichen nor Shen Qinghan struggled at all. Because they knew that struggling would be useless, they were all prepared to be taken away by the Shenzi sect and suffer hardships in the Shenzi sect for many years. "Great Elder, can you release all those people below?" The moment before he was about to be taken away, Lin Zichen made such a request to the Great Elder of Shenzi sect. Lu Juanmu, Song Yuan, Ma Ziwei and others were all down there, and he didn't want these acquaintances to die down there. The Great Elder of the Shenzi sect originally wanted to take the 2 of them into the Source Land and give the people below to the beasts as food. After hearing what Lin Zichen said, he changed his mind. A thought came to mind. "Release the vines on Lin Zichen's body," he said to him in an indifferent tone. "Lin Zichen, show your determination to join the Shenzi cult and kill everyone below, or I will kill her." The woman he was referring to was Shen Qinghan. Lin Zichen's face changed slightly after hearing this. He didn't expect that this would be the result after making his request. The expressions of the people below changed drastically, and their faces were suddenly filled with fear. "Kill or not?" The great elder of Shenzi sect tightened the vines on Shen Qinghan's body as he spoke, his tone full of threats. "If you don't kill those people below, then I will kill your fiancé now." Shen Qinghan wanted to speak to stop Lin Zichen from killing the people below, but the vines around her were so tight that she felt like she could already see the call of death. Seeing that Shen Qinghan's face had turned purple, Lin Zichen clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. He couldn't understand why the great elder of Shenzi sect did this. It is obvious that doing this will do no good, it will only offend others in vain and create enemies for yourself. What's the point of doing this? Aren't you going to take action yet? The great elder of Shenzi sect said, "Your fiancé is going to die." After saying that, with a thought, he tightened the scarlet vines on Shen Qinghan's body, causing Shen Qinghan's face to be filled with pain, and life was worse than death. Seeing that Shen Qinghan was about to die, Song Yuan shouted anxiously, "Zichen, don't hesitate, kill us quickly." Lu Juanmu was also shouting, "We are all going to die anyway. Rather than die in the mouths of strange beasts, it would be better to die in your hands." Ma Ziwei, Li Moyu, Luo Yongjian and other familiar people were also shouting. "Brother Chen, do it quickly. Zichen, hurry up. Give us a good time." More and more people are urging Lin Zichen to take action quickly. Lin Zichen listened to the shouts below and looked at Shen Qinghan who was beginning to lose the vitality in his body. He felt cruel and was forced to make the decision to kill everyone below with his own hands. "You are going to die anyway, even if you don't die by my hands, you will die among the beasts. In this case, why not let me give you a happy one? One day, I will definitely kill the great elder of the divine plant religion and offer sacrifice to you." With these self-comforting thoughts, Lin Zichen turned around and was about to rush to the people below. And at this moment, a figure in a Taoist robe stained with blood suddenly appeared in the air, quietly hovering between Lin Zichen and the great elder of the divine plant religion. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Thank you.